All right, guys, let's take a minute so I can tell you about Sleeper, a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat on sports games in real time with other users. You can get the fastest scores, blazing fast sports news and sports alerts right at your fingertips. And of course, you can use Sleeper to play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. This is the way sports were meant to be enjoyed together. So download Sleeper today. Use promo code SBN to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. And you can pair that with another promo they have right now where you can get a $20 entry free with no deposit required. So get both of those things going. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. So check out Sleeper today. Get to it and go have some fun with sports this year. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. We are here once again. It is Thursday, so you know what time it is. You know what it's all about. The Seattle Seahawks are continuing their quest for greatness. They continued it last week with a pretty dominant win over the Atlanta Falcons, and they hope to do so again this week with a game against an Indianapolis Colts team that is virtually unrecognizable from what they were just a month ago. And we will talk about all that today. I am Brendan. That is Brandon. How are we doing today, Brandon?
Man, I'm doing well. It's been such an amazing season to get to watch this team, and it's been so much fun for me, Brendan.
I think we're all having some fun right now, man. And don't forget to enjoy these moments, right? Don't get too wrapped up in the playoffs, the NFC Championship game, the Super Bowl. Don't start thinking about that yet. Enjoy games like this. Enjoy a game where you go into Atlanta and win by 4 touchdowns by dropping 30 points in the second half. Enjoy a game where shut out the Minnesota Vikings and force 5 turnovers. Don't forget to enjoy these moments, man.
It's very hard to do this to teams in the NFL consistently, to your point. And while I know from some mock fans' perspective, we haven't had to go into the dark ages of the Cleveland Browns or the Vegas Raiders, and then over this last 10-year period, you've had some decent teams at least that's made the games watchable. We've had to have a lot of hard conversations and turnover, maybe letting legends go, Brendan. And now we find ourselves in a fully refreshed mode where the team is back on its rise, not at the last vestiges of the end, but now it's seemingly the beginning of what looks like a beautiful journey for this team, not just for this year, but into the future. And as you say, you just got to enjoy it.
Right. So we are definitely going to unwrap this upcoming Colts game, which has become a very, I will say, interesting game. I don't know if it's a likely very competitive game, but some very interesting things have happened over the last few weeks with this Colts team. We will get to that. But first, that Atlanta game, which obviously I understand Atlanta's not good this year. Atlanta's down to their backup quarterback. Atlanta was down their number one receiver. They are really not a good team at this point in time. But just generally speaking, what, if anything, did you take away from that game?
I think that the blueprint for winning and how you've won games this year has been so very consistent on top of being so very consistently dominant. It's been both of those two attributes. You come out, you stop the run in every single game, 22 straight games without allowing a 100-yard rusher, including in this one with the Bijan Robinson, who is so very, very dynamic. So you make offenses quickly one-dimensional and put them into a bind. You've got your special teams that every game of this year looks like the best special teams unit in football. I know they're only second in DVOA, but man, they sure have helped us out in so many different football games. And then you have an offense that, yes, can sometimes be a little bit uneven in that when it's not cooking, it's cold. But when they're hot, they're as hot as any offense in the sport, and they can put up points in bunches. I was relating it on my wrap-up stream, Brendan, to like the Warriors when they had Steph Curry, Clay, and Durant all at the same time, and they could be down in 15 points in a game, and suddenly 2 minutes goes by, and you see them, they're up by 3 all of a sudden. And you go, how did they put up points that fast? That's amazing. And this has been something that I think has been a standard that this team has applied throughout this year. And it just gives you that much more confidence that you can carry that kind of standard in the playoffs because you don't have to come up with a new way to win every week. You've got your model, you've got your blueprint. And yes, it's against a lesser foe, but again, you're blowing these teams out of the water with this blueprint.
Right, right. I absolutely buy into all that, and like that game was a great example of it too. Because think about how hard Atlanta worked in that first half to make it a game. Think about all the things that went right for them. Think about how they were executing at such a high level above their heads, really, to get it to that 6-6 point, because that's not a good Atlanta team. They're missing a lot of their better players. So for them to get to 6-6 in the first half is kind of amazing. And then all that effort in 15 seconds to start the second half just gets flushed. It's like it doesn't even matter now. You give up the 100-yard kickoff return, and it's like all that hard work you put in the first hour and a half of the game is just gone, right? And that is one of the elements of trading for Rashid Shaheed. He gives you that ability to take a team that is playing above their heads, that is doing a great job shutting you down and making life really hard for you, and then just going, well, you're still going to lose. It doesn't matter. You can try as hard as you want to. We're going to find this other way to beat you. It's like some of those really good Bears teams that had Devin Hester returning kicks and punts for them, right? There were games. I remember the 06 Bears team. They would play awful. And then Devin Hester would go win them the game anyway. And it felt unfair because it's like we did everything right. And then this all-time great kick returner just ruined everything. But you look at a play like that and you kind of feel like Seattle might be in a similar spot where they can just find so many different ways through.
Well, to your point, I think that Shaheed return, even though it wasn't the same as the Super Bowl, it had the same effect of the Harvin return at the start of the second half of the Super Bowl, and that you knew at that moment the Broncos were officially fully cooked. And that point, to my standpoint, you probably feel the same way based on how you're talking about this, but that you did feel like once Shaheed had take that back, that they just lost their chance. The one little opportunity they may have had, that little smidgen of a chance to go and get the win today, we just eradicated that with this return. The momentum is now back in our favor fully here, and it's done for the Falcons. That's how I felt. And I felt that way with the Harvin return in the Super Bowl, albeit you're going up by much more in that one than this one, but it just felt like that same way. And you come into a game like this, Brendan, where the special teams unit for you is one of the best, maybe number two, maybe number one, depending on who you want to ask. And then you got the Falcons that are widely considered one of the best, if not the worst, special teams unit in the sport. And so you figure, well, special teams really matters, right, Brendan? Like if we look at football, not in the way of like, well, it's 40% offense, 40% defense, and maybe we'll give 20% to the special teams. It doesn't really matter, or it matters just a very little bit. Well, if those people were right, this kind of game would play out to where you wouldn't really feel that big of a difference, even though there's that wide of a difference in how they're ranked. But you did get to feel that difference. You felt it on the block kick. You felt it on the kick return touchdown. I think he had a couple of decent returns as well. Dixon, the way he punted, Myers hitting all of his kicks. You did really get to feel that difference in this game. And it does make a difference, especially when you really tangibly build your special teams up in the way that the Seattle Seahawks have.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it may happen again in the playoffs. We might have a game where the offense doesn't show up, doesn't score, can't really move the ball. Maybe they're even turning it over, and the game is closer than it has any right to be because of that. And then Rashid Shaheed does something crazy on special teams, and everything's okay. That may happen. And I liked Torrey Horton, and I even liked Derek Young, but neither of those guys are bringing the same things to the table as Shaheed at all.
No, they're not. And to your point, Niners and Rams, two teams that are likely to get in the playoffs at this point, are both teams that have had some special teams issues at times. Niners have gotten a bit better with Sky Moore back in the returning kickoffs for him, but there are some other areas of questions, including the kicking game for both, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I think that was like the main takeaway. Everything else just kind of felt normal. Our defense shut them down, but they're playing their backup quarterback. They don't have their number one receiver. I know he's been gone all year, but they're missing their stud right tackle. So I think that was mostly expected. I will say I was hoping to run the ball a little bit better, especially early in that game, because Atlanta is not really a good run stopping team. So I'm a little bit discouraged there because I do think that's an important part of the formula here when we get to January. But I don't know. I don't want to make too big a deal out of it because it's just one game, but I wasn't crazy about the way we ran the ball.
No, I wasn't necessarily loving it as well. I think some of it does come from the Falcons being willing to bring a little bit more of the pressure and heat down there around the box, and that you just had so many extra bodies with that sometimes that kept it, made it hard watching the all-22. There were times you were running into bad numbers games in the run game for the sake of running the ball. And I'm not just talking about to your point, that first half as much as anything, not to when the game was far away, but even into that first half. So, they were definitely loading up for it. I thought the same, though, against that lighter front of the Falcons, you'd be able to get after them. You just weren't able to, quite get as much there. But the good news is with the run game is even when it does get stopped, it feels like, Brendan, on a game, it's still going to be good for having like 3 or 4 runs that they're able to bust out for big gains. So it's at least giving you something rather than just, nothing on days where it's struggling.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind that. But other than that, I mean, JSN back on track. May have that record-breaking season still. I mean, we're playing this Colts team with no cornerbacks basically now, so I mean, it's a
That's
great
true.
opportunity. And I mean, the best defense against JSN this year is apparently getting blown out so badly you don't have to throw the ball to them in the third quarter or beyond. So maybe these last few teams we play will put up a little bit more of a fight.
The only thing stopping JSN is fourth quarter blowouts, Brendan. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
it's a good problem to have. Yeah, he's fantastic, and he played great again this game. Taking AJ Terrell, had no touchdown receptions given up throughout this whole year, gave up 2 in this game to JSN, just speaks to how good he is. And speaking to just a couple two guys on the defensive side of the ball, Witherspoon and Eamon Wari are playing like stars right now, in my opinion. Those guys are playing like top end players for their position. Eamon Wari like a top end slot, whatever you want to call him, a Mr. Everywhere man. And then Witherspoon, now he's been slid to the outside, is really working out well out there.
Yeah, and what those two guys do, if you didn't have that, you would never be able to stop the run this effectively in nickel, right? Because this Seahawks team, they don't go big. They don't even go big when the other team goes big. They live in nickel. They want to get their defensive backs out there. And the fact that we might have the best run defense in football, in fact, I think we do have the best run defense in football, with that is kind of insane. It should be pretty much impossible to be this good without putting 3 linebackers on the field or having a safety live in the box. And we're pulling it off, man.
And it's running counter to where every other defense is going this year, Brendan, including the defense that we played this last week. They're going to base. That's how they're countering the 12 personnel and the 13 personnel. Is okay, we'll just go back to base old school. We'll go old school base. And then what's happening is offenses are then taking apart those defenses in the base, because the base defense doesn't have the guys that can cover their tight ends, let's say, or their running backs in space. We stay in nickel. We're not allowing you to dictate the terms to us. We're dictating the terms to you. And that's what this defense does, is a real centerpiece point to its methodology. And it's just part of the reason why it's been successful, and part of the reason why it's not just merely a defense that's going to have an offense that brings out some formational grouping, and that'll be the great answer to this defense. Quite the contrary.
Yeah, I think that the other thing to keep in mind here is the other cornerback that's on the field a lot is Woolen, who is not known for run defense, not known for tackling at all. Although I do think he's been a little bit better this year than he's been in previous years. So you got that guy out there, and you're still holding this strong. It's incredible, and I hope it's something that we can keep up going forward. Obviously, at some point, Leonard Williams is going to start slipping as a player. I don't think he can keep this up for much longer. There's some other mitigating factors as well. A guy like DeMarcus Lawrence is 34 years old, but there's actually a lot of stuff on this team that is young and could be doing this for the next decade. So maybe we can keep it up. It's really something special, and I don't want to lose it anytime soon, because I think as long as we have that, this team is going to be a contender.
Yeah, I think, and too, with those older guys, it might help you down the line with both those guys, a couple other guys that get older, is that you're able to maybe, bring them back into the fray. They're part of the rotation. You can keep them on a snap count. You have a year like this, for instance, where there's so many blowouts, Brendan, and I haven't looked at the snap counts, but I'm reckoning to guess that Leonard Williams, off of where he was in the first couple of years from a snap count, is going to be heavily reduced this year in overall number of snaps. And that then allows you to keep these guys a little bit fresher and maybe more able to sustain a little longer into their career, have that extra 1 more year you can play because the team kind of took care of you. There may be a bit of that at play, but you're right. Those guys are getting a little bit older on that.
Yeah. I think Williams will end up somewhere around 800 snaps this year, which is good. I mean, I'm happy with that. And Murphy should be around 750. I think you're doing pretty well at that point. Remember, Jaron Reed has missed several games this year. He's missed like over a month. If he had been healthy all season, it'd probably be it'd probably be even a little healthier than that. So I think you're doing really well. And these last couple of games, guys like Williams have not played very much at all. So we're thinking about those things, I think.
I think we are too. And it's the benefit of being able to blow teams out. You get to think about this stuff in the third quarter. Most teams just aren't. I mean, that's when the games get the hardest most of the time, Brendan, is that fourth quarter where you got to sell out and your body's tired. And those are the ones that really take the miles off of the engine a little bit, so to speak. And you've been able to really, by and large, avoid that, this year. And so I think you've got a really cool thing set up in the future here next year, even where you look at it and you go, well, Riley Mills comes back, Jaron Reed's still under contract, Murphy's on his rookie deal, Leonard Williams still has a year left on his deal. And you get the opportunity to kind of assess what's going on, rotate through the 4 bodies if that's what you want to do with it at that point, and keep those guys ultimately really fresh. Somewhat of the equivalency of what you've done with the edge group right now, and how you've been able to keep those guys, cooking along and fresh in that way. And it's a very rare thing for teams to have in their back pocket to utilize. Yeah, they'll have 4 defensive tackles, but they're going to trot out 2 guys that are nothing burgers out there, that are just kind of like eating up snaps as much as actually having tangible impact. And that's what we're really building here on this defensive line.
I was doing some research last week for a couple of videos I was making on the 2013 defense, and I didn't know this, although I had some idea it was close. All 3 defensive tackles on that defense played basically the identical number of snaps. Tony McDaniel, Clint McDonald, Brandon Mebane, I think they all played like 530 snaps on the nose. And I mean, that is what it takes. And those players weren't even great, right? Like Mebane was good, but the other 2 guys were journeymen. And look at all the miles you got out of them because you kept the rotation so unbelievably tight.
And that was the 16-game schedule too, right?
Right.
Back then.
16.
And and that was one where it was a little different the way that they went about it, I think, Brendan, back then, because it was more of based down to the cheetah package thing, where it was sort of like you had your first group comes out there, and then when it's outside of the rundowns where you get to pass happy, now you bring your pass happy out there. And now with this group, it's more of just rotational base. Like all of these guys in the rotation can play early downs and late downs. You don't have to kind of stylistically set them up for success by the down and distance, because they could be like a detriment in the run game, or they give you no pass rush. So you don't want to have them out there in those situations for that. That would have been something with that Legion of Boom era that you would have said, if I had Brett Bryan out there for a 3rd down pass rush, Tony McDaniel for a 3rd down pass rush from the 3 tech versus Michael Bennett, nowhere near the same kind of impact of the other guys you would have had in there for those roles.
Yeah. And I related, I don't think it's a coincidence that this Seahawks team is one of the very few teams that it doesn't feel like they're defined by their injuries right now. Like, we do this show every week, and especially recently, every week, it feels like every team we talk about is defined by their injuries. Like the Vikings, they don't have their quarterback, they don't have their backup quarterback. They've got Max Brosmer out there, so they feel completely dead on arrival. And
no left tackle, no left guard.
Yeah, the left side of the offensive line as well. And then you had this Falcons team, no quarterback. They're on their backup quarterback. No Drake London, no Brandon Dorless, no Caleb McGarry, like completely defined by their injuries. And probably more than any other team in the league, this team we're going to talk about today is defined by their injuries right now, like completely and utterly. And this Seattle team, like, okay, we're missing Torrey Horton, but all he'd do is run cardio if he was out there right now. Like, if Torrey Horton was on this team and active, he'd probably be taking Cody White snaps, so that's about it. I'd like to have a player like I would have liked to have had a player like Julian Love for a little while there, but I don't think we really felt his loss all that much at all. Maybe against the Rams, that's about it. I would have preferred to have Love out there, but that's it. A guy like Halani, I liked Halani, but I'm certainly not really feeling like we're hurting because we don't have him. Like, this team doesn't feel defined by injuries at all this year, really.
It doesn't. I think that this is also the benefit of having a guy in McDonald that runs very hard training camps. And what you've been able to do is you ran a really hard training camp, and it was noted for its intensity. And then what you've been able to do throughout the course of the season is manage the load on these guys. Like, you sort of build up the callus, and then you kind of manage the callus throughout the season. And you got to have the callus built up on players, or their bodies are really not prepared to go out there and play NFL Sundays. You can't just do the thing where you're going to, have a club hawk training camp where the guys are just out there drinking smoothies and getting massages, and the goal is to keep everybody just super healthy to the nth degree, which, quite frankly, with the prior regime at times in training camps, that's a little bit of how I felt. That doesn't work because it doesn't get the guys really prepared to then play for the season. And I think that that's a credit to Mike to be able to do both those two things and drive that intensity in training camp, understanding the benefit of that. And then also being able to then manage the players around that, be careful with the injuries, not push guys too hard. They've been very conservative on their approach with this. That's part of being able to get these guys back, is you're not pressing them to come out on the field when they're not at 100%. And they seem to have really, really understood how to properly manage this team this year in that way. And I think it's not by luck, Brendan. I think it's by them making tangible decisions to make this happen.
Yeah, and hopefully it holds. We got 4 games left here, but I mean, you look around the league, it really does feel like a last man standing type situation, right? Where the best team isn't going to win. It's the team that has the most health at the end of the year. And Seattle's up there.
It's a war of attrition. This league is that way, and you would love it to be. And it's an unfair league, Brendan. It's a league where you can have yourself built up, and you built this great, strong team, and then the injuries come up, and it's like that's the factor that took you down. It wasn't that they didn't have the buy-in. It wasn't that you didn't have the talent. It wasn't that you didn't have the coaching in the front office. But this injury thing took it all down. That happens to teams. It happens to teams every year, and to avoid it is one of the hallmarks of what you need to go be a Super Bowl contending team, in my opinion. And or even just go win the Super Bowl. We had pretty good health for the most part going into that first Super Bowl against the Broncos. Broncos down Ryan Clady, Broncos down Von Miller, Broncos down Derek Wolfe. They had a couple of injuries in there, and then we on the other side were pretty healthy. Then we come back the next year, our whole secondary is toast. Earl Thomas is toast. Richard Sherman's toast. Chancellor gets a torn MCL 2 days before the game in the last practice before the game. You lose
Cliff Averill concussion,
Cliff Averill concussion, Jeremy Lane, Marcus Burley out, not out. He's inactive. So you have Thurl Simon Rockin, and that lost you that Super Bowl. So this is a factor. You wouldn't like it to be. It would suck. It sucks that it has to come into play. So it is worth noting, to your point, Brendan, as to why it's such a big deal that you've been able to navigate this, and that you're even potentially setting yourself up to maybe see yourself at the end of the year at the healthiest you've been all season long.
Yeah, it is kind of looking like it's trending that way. Like all these guys on injured reserve, none of them are out for the year. They're just out until they come back. And it's actually gotten to the point where we have so many players coming back from injured reserve, we may run out of spaces. So
we will. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you take a guy like George Holani and just tell him, we know you can come back, but we don't need you right now. Sorry, go chill out. We'll try to get you a ring. Don't worry about it. That may happen. And it's a nice luxury to have.
It's a good problem to have, man. First world problems.
Okay. So that's, I think that's about it for the Falcons game. Anything else you want to put out there before we move along?
No, I think we covered it.
All right. So let's spend a little bit of time on this Colts game. To anybody who donates, we will address any and all donations before the end of the show. But before we get there, let's try to talk about these Colts, although they're going to be very hard to talk about because this whole year they have been defined by their offense, which after about the first 8 games, by some metrics, was the best offense the NFL had seen this century. Better than the 2007 Patriots, better than the 2013 Broncos. By some metrics, they were the gold standard in NFL modern history. Like since I started watching football, it was a lot of fun too, right? Because it was kind of a reclamation thing. You had Daniel Jones, of course, who completely flamed out in New York. You had a coach who was presumably on the hot seat and looked like he was on the verge of getting fired. You had a receiver room that was kind of under the radar and relatively anonymous, and they put it together at a really high level. And I am going to go ahead and throw this up on the screen right now. But a lot of this stuff that we're going to look at here, we're going to have to kind of throw out the door because of recent circumstances. So understand that it's not your slightly older brother's Indianapolis Colts team.
No, it's not. And to your point as well, this goes before the Daniel Jones loss. They had lost 4 of their last 5 now. So this goes beyond just him having the injuries he did. The things had started to scuttle. And I can't help but think, Brendan, when you do look at that schedule in the early point and where they were able to make that offensive headwind, you got to play the Titans twice. You got to play a Chargers team that was out there starting 2 tackles in that game, though you did beat them up well. You beat up on the Cardinals. You beat up on the Raiders. You beat up on the Dolphins. Got a quality win here against the Denver Broncos. I don't want to undersell that one. But then when you did face some legitimate teams here recently, Chiefs, Texans, Jaguars, you lost all 3 of them. Steelers, you lost to them. You're able to beat the Falcons.
When did Daniel Jones fracture his fibula? Because he was playing through that for a little while. I think that might have been part of it, right?
I thought it was around the Chiefs game.
Yeah, you might be right. I feel like he had played through that for a couple weeks, and it was clearly not a good idea. But I think that's part of it too.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. It's late November is where they've got him placed at right there, which I think would be right in that area.
Yeah, so that was
maybe a week before. Well, yeah.
That wasn't the whole thing, but it was a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a part of it. And you do look at, now you get this deep in the schedule, you get to see where the wins and losses are at, in which, look, I know that's a question with us, but even us with where we're at record wise from them, we've got the Steelers, we got the Jaguars, we got the Texans, literally 3 teams that they lost to on their schedule. We were able to get the win. You're right about this, the numbers here, as far as the offensive kind of baseline numbers we tend to look at every week, and that we can usually take something a little bit more away from this. But when you're down your quarterback like you are, where you're going to get a Philip Rivers, when you get a Riley Leonard, we're going to talk about the quarterbacks and the different styles of what they bring here. But this does kind of make these stats get thrown out a little bit. I still think that there's a bit of an intention here that's going to be important, Brendan. So first off, pressure rate, 21st overall. They give up a good amount of pressure. You can get after them. Their team rushing EPA, this is going to be the question for us with the light boxes. We were able to solve this puzzle last week with Bijan Robinson. It's the same puzzle this week with Jonathan Taylor. You got a grade A rushing team. You're going to run those light boxes. Can you still hold up against one of the best, if not the best back in the sport this year? That's going to be a very important part. This is a big, important stat to me right now, Brendan, and I think I'm going to throw this out if it's Riley Leonard. We're going to talk about that in a second on this one. But this is really with Philip Rivers. Rivers is always known as a guy going throughout his career who's going to get the ball out of his hand quick, throw with anticipation, throw with accuracy. The team already inherently is 4th in the league at getting the ball out of the quarterback's hand at 2.7 seconds. So already with Daniel Jones, you had made it an inherent goal to get the ball out of his hand anyway. And this is where we come down to me with this defense, to where light boxes, sometimes a tendency to drift into deeper zones. Are the Colts going to be able to pick on us a little bit in that short passing attack, or is Mike McDonald going to be willing to drive that coverage up a little bit tighter, force them to beat you over the top, because you don't maybe trust that the quarterback back there, be it Philip Rivers or Riley Leonard, is going to have the arm to push that ball down the field accurately. And you've got your guys in the back end who can cover up well, that you trust one-on-one, let's say in press man cover corner situations, Brendan, like you might want to run against some of this quick throwing attack. They're 26th in average target separation, so their receivers do not generate a lot of separation. This goes in tandem, though, with the 2.7 seconds to throw, because of the fact that if you're throwing quick and you're throwing fast, there's not as much time for the receivers to generate as much separation. They've got good receivers there, so I think that they're not in bad shape there, but they don't necessarily, route you up like JSN necessarily.
Yeah,
they're ninth, and I
like Pittman.
Pittman's nice, and Pierce is functional out there too. And let's face it, Warren can get the job done from the tight end position, that's for sure. They are 9th highest in blitz rate against them. So oddly enough, teams are blitzing at a high rate. This one point, Brent, I'd love to hear your thoughts on. They're being blitzed at the 9th highest rate, but they're getting the ball out of their hands so tangibly quick. And maybe this is the blitz rate as its run blitzes as much as anything else, huh? Maybe that's why because if you blitz and you got a team throwing the ball fast, that doesn't go together for a defense, right? Because you're just going to have them get the hot route and get the ball out of their hand and find an answer there.
Well, what I would say, we know that NFL teams and NFL coaches are stubborn. Maybe teams just look across the field, they see Daniel Jones, and they think that's a guy I want to blitz. And they keep thinking that every game, even though week after week he proves that you don't want to blitz him. They just have it in their mind that this is the way against Daniel Jones because he doesn't know how to read a defense. And they're going to ignore all evidence to the contrary until he's hoisting a Lombardi trophy, basically. Maybe.
Makes sense. And again, they don't necessarily have the burner on the receiver core. Pittman's really nice and Pierce is nice, but they're kind of more, in my opinion, kind of possession type receivers more than they are pure, I'm going to take the top off the defense kind of guys, in how they operate. Second in play action, Brendan, no surprise there. You're going to run the ball as much as that they do. You'd probably want to tandem that up with the play action stuff. So it's going to make another tricky part of playing them defensively in this game. 10th in yak, which I was surprised by. I didn't think with Pierce and Pittman, they'd be nice yak guys, but that's probably a lot of Warren getting the job done with that, is he's a monster after the catch.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that I also think maybe it's a little bit of Taylor catching the ball out of the backfield as well.
That's true. Yeah, that definitely helps. They definitely use him in that function a lot too, especially the screen game. Really good with that. 15th in light boxes, 19th in stack box rate. So this equals out to, you're essentially seeing the Colts facing a lot of neutral fronts this year so far. Again, kind of a surprise for me looking at the stats, because I would have thought teams would have been a little bit more on loading up to stop the run and making that a point of emphasis against them. But I guess the threat of the pass for the Colts has kept teams honest in that respect. They are 5th in running in the NFL inside and 26% of runs outside. And here's the key to stop the run today, Brendan. That is Jonathan Taylor. You and I looked at him going back to college. We both loved him going back to college. He is really an A-B gap runner where he makes his headway. He can occasionally get to the edge and work some of that, but he wants to get downhill fast, use his vision and his quick cutting ability down in the A and the B gap to go and find the right hole, reading it on the fly, and then just get downhill. He is a north-south runner, not an east-west runner, north and south. So a lot in how you have to defend this game is going to be down on, and this is different from the Atlanta Falcon game where this was on the opposite end of the scale. And I thought this helped you last week, Brendan, to defend Bijan Robinson because the runs would go to the edges and that would help your defense be able to rally up on the back end of the front. When you're coming downhill into the A and B gap, it's happening bang, bang. So there's not as much that opportunity for the rally on the back end of the front there. Might be a week that we see a little bit more of the base defense brought out from the Hawks to counter this. If I was Mike McDonald, with the lack of threat at the passing attack, especially, I know that we've just talked about, and we lauded them earlier in the show with how they can just always stay committed to the light boxes. But without the threat of the quarterback back there, maybe I'm a little bit more willing this week to try to take away the stack boxes, because there's no way, Brendan, I think you would agree with this. There's no way you can go into this game allowing Jonathan Taylor to beat you. You've got to force the quarterback, whoever it is in this Colts offense, to be the one that takes you down in this game, in my opinion.
Right. Well, not to get too excited about it, but did you see the clip of Phillip Rivers at his workout a couple of days ago? Have you seen those yet?
No.
Yeah, there is zero zip on that ball, none whatsoever. It's. I understand that Indy season is over no matter what, and they may as well have some fun with it, but like it's really bad. Like there's no zip. Rivers never had any mobility, but at this point, he'll probably be out there running like he's carrying a refrigerator on his back. It feels a little bit cruel to say, hey, we're going to sign you, and then less than a week later, you're playing in Seattle in probably the rain, by the way. I know, I don't know about what's going on down in California, but we are getting monsoons right now. I'm expecting it to rain for that game. It seems a little bit mean.
I'm interested to see them throwing him out there like this. You and I have never seen anything like this in our history of our lifetime. So a guy out 5 years like this, it screams of desperation from the Colts perspective. They're doing this because you're not only down one quarterback, you're down Mr. I don't know how you snap yourself in the eye with a training band, but he's out as Richardson. That was their backup plan to go to if Daniel Jones did go out in the season coming into it. Then Riley Leonard was your sort of break glass in case of emergency. He's got the PCL, and Brendan, remember watch with Riley. Everything he did with Notre Dame was off the mobility. It's off the RPO stuff, and I'll keep it and I'll run it. And he needs that to even be not even functional, just to be like not a nightmare at the position, because he does not have the arm talent, especially throwing in the elements. My God. He doesn't have the arm talent to be able to make that work. So that's probably why they're going to this. Is it's just like, look, he's not going to be able to run, and we have no trust in Brett Rippon. This is complete desperation. It's not to me an inspired move, and it still makes, there's still a threat. I'm still worried here because you never know with how this stuff can work, especially getting a guy, coming in blind like that. But boy, it does not seem to be set up well for them right now.
Yeah. I remember scouting Riley Leonard last year. I liked him a little bit more than most people, but I called him Jalen Hurts with a smaller butt, right? It's the same kind of deal, right? It's Jalen Hurts with less junk in the trunk, which is
and no nine route, no 9 ball.
Yeah.
You don't got no 9 ball. You don't got that Jalen rainbow.
Yeah. And as it turns out, Jalen Hurts depends heavily on how big his butt is, as it turns out. So that's kind of a big deal. That's kind of like saying Russell Wilson without the deep ball, or Tom Brady without the ability to read defenses. It's that's the thing that you want. So I do like the way he plays. I like his mobility. He did run with some power at Notre Dame, and he can at least get the ball out of his hands quickly, but very, very simplified offense. You have to run with him. It's one read and then take off. If you blitz him, if you force him to throw on the move, everything is terrible. And like you said, he doesn't have the 9 ball. And Jalen Hurts, whether or not he works as he is right now is debatable at this moment, but he definitely wouldn't work without the 9 ball. That would be just an inept quarterback.
He has just enough, right? To your point, like Hurts has just enough right now. And even at this year, we've seen that just enough is maybe falling just a tiny bit short. We'll see long-term with him, but he's on that razor's edge line of just not having quite enough to do it. He's been great at being able to maximize that to the utmost as Hurts. Riley's not cut from that same cloth in any way, shape, or form. And he's going to struggle big time in this game. The throwing, accuracy, arm strength, both are in question. I do remember too, the funniest thing that was said about them when we were talking about him in the prospect was that when he falls down, it looks like Woody from Toy Story. That when he just got that same sort of fall over dead leg kind of thing going on when he drops forward. But he's got mobility. But again, PCL injury, that's going to rob you of being able to move around a bit. You're not able to be as fluid. You're not able to be as twitchy. And that's got to be a centerpiece of his game if he's taking on this Hawks defense. And this is where I think that they're led, Brendan, to going with Rivers when it's all said and done. Because there just looks like no chance with Riley Leonard there. Maybe Phillip can get hot. Maybe he can figure something out. Maybe you can game plan it to where you're just calling these, you run the ball 70% of the time, and then he's just got to throw a very little bit around it. That's probably their ideal from their standpoint in this game. But I see that's why they're probably going to drive to Rivers by game time, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm kind of there now too. And everything out of the Colts camp is that they like what they see from him. I'm sure that's being graded on a pretty strong curve, but apparently they're like, yeah, he's ready to go. I read one story that I guess he's coaching high school football, and the high school that he coaches runs the same offense as the Colts. So he's been in contact with that coaching staff anyway to talk about the offense so he can kind of implement it on his coaching. So he's already kind of familiar with the offense anyway. So that's one element here, which, I mean, I don't know how much that's really going to help you when you're throwing to a bunch of receivers you've never thrown to before, but it's better than nothing, I guess.
You'll know the plays, you'll know the play calls. That's a big part of you'll know where you'll know some of the intricacies within it. I think you're right. It is a helpful tool for him, and all the more to help him to get out on the field quicker this week in the way that they want to do so.
Yeah, I mean, it would be one thing if they were playing at home in the dome and they were playing like the Bengals or something, but put him out there against Seattle on the road in bad conditions when he's got zero arm strength. It does feel a little bit mean, and it feels like we know exactly what's going to happen. In fact, I think I know exactly how this weekend's going to go. You want to see? You want to see? I think I got it.
Tell me.
Okay.
Let me see.
Dude, what the f***? Why are you f***ing here, man? You're so old. Where's your wife? Go home to your family, dude.
I spent like 3 hours making that last night because I suck at DaVinci Resolve and I couldn't figure out how to get transparent PNGs in there. So I want to get some miles out of it because I cannot figure out for the life of me how to get PNGs into Resolve.
I'm all about Premiere Pro, baby.
Oh, really?
I rock with a Pro. I don't do the DaVinci, so
okay.
And it's a lot easier on that one. I build my thumbnails out of Premiere Pro rather than Photoshop. Even this is very easy.
Yeah, I probably need to start doing something like that. I hate making thumbnails. That's the one part of like making videos. I love making the videos. I don't mind editing the videos, but the thumbnails, like I'm terrible at it.
Yeah. I'm not great at it either, but to be honest with you, I've just barely gotten along with it through the years, and it's not easy to do it. But Premiere is nice. It's coming along too. They're getting the object oriented thing where you can actually pull an object out of the video now with much more ease. You don't need After Effects and have to like rotoscope it through. It just pop. It's supposed to grab it now with everything. So coming along with some really nice features. I like it's costly, but what do you do?
Yeah. So I think we're both in agreement here. We are going to get Phillip Rivers, and it may not be good, but it's going to be fascinating. Like if I were a fan of football, but I wasn't a fan of the Colts or Seahawks, I wouldn't really care to see Riley Leonard. I really wouldn't care to see Brett Rippon, but I would definitely want to see what happens with Phillip Rivers.
I would too. To double back around to your point about, this environment you're putting him in. And if I was the Colts right now, you're coming into this game with Ahmad Gardner kind of questionable. You're not sure. You got DeForest Buckner coming back off of a neck injury, still in question. You're going to be down Javarius Ward. He's just out, and he might be gone for the whole year with his third concussion. But this would be one where I look down the home stretch of their schedule and I go, what I would try to do is say, look, we don't have any chance really this year, by the way this looks with Daniel Jones's injury, but we could maybe try to manufacture this and get in the playoffs and get hot and anything can happen. Okay, we take the punt on this Hawk game. We're going out on the road and it's going to be in this bad environment. And we got our quarterback in Rivers we just brought in here and he's just getting acclimated. Let's rest up an Ahmad Gardner. Let's rest up a DeForest Buckner. Let's set him up for the 3-game stretch at the end of the season where we've got to take on the 49ers, the Jaguars, and the Texans to get into the playoffs. Those are the games we're really going to need. And those 2 of those games we get to play at home, indoors. Temperature control climate with Phillip Rivers. And then you give Phillip that extra week to kind of work with the chemistry side. if I was the head coach, and I know I'm a Hawk, and this sounds like a homer take for wanting the Hawks to not, but I mean, it's not like Rivers is putting fear in the depths of my heart. It's just if I'm a Colts, I'm going. Just seems like a smarter approach for us walking into what seems like certain failure every which way but loose.
Mm. Yeah, that is a tough schedule, though. Even like maybe you would say in Seattle's the toughest game, but that is brutal. You got, I mean, Niners, Jaguars, Texans. I mean, there's not much of a path there, is there?
There's not. The only hope is that you get the home and they play really well at home. And so that's where, but I mean, like when you bring up Ahmad Garner in this game and he's kind of partially back and then let's say he re-injures or something, he's in a slippery environment, by the way, with that leg. And now he gets injured and you're down both Ward and Ahmad for the rest of the season. Do you think they got any hope in those games at that point? If they're down both those two guys? I go, I get that you want to try to capture everyone. You're just thinking 4 games, get in the playoffs, whatever there. But I would probably try to set this up a little bit more if I was the Colts coach on this one to try to have a chance down that home stretch. I don't think he's going to do it. I think they're going to start Rivers, but I would.
Well, if you remember the Penn State team last year with Tyler Warren, he did line up under center a decent amount. They actually used him on trick plays. So maybe
shotgun, baby.
Yeah, maybe that's the play here. Just let Tyler Warren play quarterback, and it'll be must-see TV. You'll probably lose by 50, but whatever. It's not college football. Losing by 50 isn't any different than losing by 1. So let's have fun with it, man.
Will be interesting to see if we get up by multiple scores if they keep trying to run the ball like the Falcons did down a couple touchdowns last Sunday, where they're like they kept running because they were just so scared to throw it, and they knew Cousins couldn't do nothing. Yeah, that'd be very interesting to see if they do that too.
Yeah, I imagine they would. Like, what are you going to have Phillip Rivers throw it 40 yards down the field? No way.
Yeah,
he probably literally can't. He probably literally could not.
Yeah, I'm going to be very interested to see where his arm is at, especially throwing in the inclement weather of Seattle after 5 years removed from the sport. To your point, back again too. You had like average arm strength at best in the best of times, and your prime when you were your physically best. You had well below average mobility when you were in your physically prime at your best. Now at 45, like I get out and play on the basketball court, and I was never really hyper out, but I can sense when I get on court now, as guys stayed in shape and plays a lot of ball, like I'm nowhere near as quick. I can't jump as I can't. Your body just doesn't have it. It dials it back, and there's nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah. I wonder why he did it. I wonder why he's actually coming back. I wonder if he just loves football so much he just won't pass up an opportunity to play more football, or I wonder what motivates that, because obviously there are other guys who have recently retired who have no interest in coming back. I wonder where that comes from.
According to reports that I've read up on him, he's been trying to kind of lightly dip his toe back in the waters of the NFL to see if he could find a team that's interested. It's a guy that never got to go to a Super Bowl, guy that never got to taste that. And he played a long career without having the opportunity to taste that. And now he sees in this team here in the Colts where I don't have to go through training camp. They're 8-5. I go win a couple games down the stretch. I get in the playoffs, and I have that opportunity that I thought was completely lost from me that I always wanted in my career. So I can't knock him for having the mentality to want to do it. If he got the opportunity to do it, and the stage is set up here where there's not a huge risk to you, although I think, he's going to learn that body doesn't take hits like it once did and just bounce right back up. It's going to hurt a little bit more. But with that said, I can get it from his standpoint. Makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, remember, the Niners were going to sign him a couple years ago if they made the Super Bowl after Purdy got hurt. That was the plan. They talked about this. They were not going to play the Super Bowl with Josh Johnson against Kansas City, and Rivers was their break glass in case of emergency option. So I guess there is a little bit of a history here.
Yeah, definitely would have been interesting to see that play out that way. So
yeah, we get to see that hideous throwing motion one last time. What do you even call that? It's kind of a sidearm, but it's even uglier than a sidearm.
Yeah, it's more of it's like a push. It's it's like like those guys do the on the ice where they push on the Olympic events where they push the little things and then it slides and then they get the guy behind who does that little move. Curling. He throws it like he's curling when it comes out of his hand, like he's trying to get it curled to a spot almost. It is one of the most unusual, probably one of the most unusual throwing motions we've seen in the sport.
Yeah, seriously, everybody, go watch the clip of his workout the other day. He looks like Uncle Rico. He really does, trying to throw that ball.
Well, I'm looking at a picture of his face right now. I mean, he's probably rocking 240, 250 on based on the face puff. So
Yeah.
I guess there's a couple extra pounds that have added onto the back end of that one too.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I think that's it for the Colts offense. Like, they got decent receivers, but not stellar. We know about Jonathan Taylor. Offensive line, I mean, it's good. I don't think Quentin Nelson is what he was a few years ago, though. So they don't really have the superstar anymore. So it's not like a terribly intimidating offensive line, I would say.
It's not intimidating. I think it is upper level. It's in that top 15 rate, especially, and might be even dancing into top 10. I think that they don't necessarily have a dominant strength, to your point, on there being some just amazing guy that just blows people off the line, and he's a physical beast. But I think that they're 1 through 5 very solid. And Tanner Bortolini, the center there that we liked a couple of years ago, coming out, highly mobile guy. He's worked out really well for them in addition to that. So they do have some solidity there, if not star power necessarily.
Yeah, and Braden Smith may or may not play this week. We'll see. He is on the injury report, so I think he'll play, but who knows?
He is questionable. They are pretty healthy aside from that. You know, Pittman, Pierce, Josh Downs, their slot, Tyler Warren, all healthy, all able to go.
All right, so let's open the box on some of these donos. Dylan Sosa, thank you for the $4.99. I love Sam, but he stares at JSN too much. Arroyo was open in the end zone on third down where JSN caught it out of bounds in the end zone. I think Arroyo was already out of the game when that play happened because he got hurt on the interception. So I don't think it was Arroyo. Maybe somebody was open, but I think Arroyo was already out of the game.
Yeah, I think that it's a fair critique with Sam on getting too concentrated on JSN and not finding enough of a balance between the different pass catchers out there. So I totally get where you're coming from on that, in that I think that it was just working so much he started spamming the button there. I think last week was a little bit of a representation of things moving in the right direction here in other ways, being that it didn't seem as hyper fixated on JSN throughout the whole course of the game. You found a way to get Rashid Shaheed fitted in there. You got a couple more targets into Cooper Kupp. There's room here for this to grow, Dylan. Don't get me wrong, as far as seeing this kind of more of a diversification of the offense. But I do think there's some validity to it too.
Yeah, and I mean he is a flawed quarterback at the end of the day, right? And we're learning that there are things that are not so great about him until really I would say almost the late second quarter of that last game. He was a guy who clearly really did not want to use his legs, sometimes to his own detriment. He does turn it over more than the average quarterback, and he does stare down his number one read a little too much sometimes. But look at all the great stuff that he does do. I'm willing to live with some of the bad stuff, especially because he's not making top of the market money, not even close. So, I mean, I agree with these issues, but I see this, and I don't know what your experience has been, but I am getting the sense that a decent chunk of this fan base is just kind of chomping at the bit to bail on Sam Darnold as soon as anything goes bad. And they're chomping at the bit to want to throw him off the boat in this offseason and go get another quarterback. I'm feeling it. And I think it's a mistake. I think it's motivated in part by this team has had so much success moving off quarterbacks in recent years. But it I don't know. I think it's just kind of missing the bigger picture here. But I'm feeling that energy.
I'm feeling the energy the same way, and I find it a little bit disconcerting because we went down this pathway a little bit with the Geno prior, and that it is, to your point, what I feel like, yeah, people doing at times with Sam is not watching him and then just sort of taking in what they're seeing, taking the good, the bad, take it all in account and kind of make the final assessment about his performance from there. It feels to me like they start out from the standpoint of, I didn't like the signing this offseason. I didn't like giving him that money this offseason. I would have rather gone for a young quarterback. I know what this guy is. I know how he is. He's always going to revert into the pumpkin eventually. They started out with that mentality, and I can say with certainty, and dealing with a lot of people throughout my chat and time over the months here with Sam here, Brendan, that those same people will pop up onto the chat when he has a bad game, or they'll go quiet when he has good games. They'll be there in the first half of this Falcon game in my ear, to your point on that. And I think it is a little bit of what we get in the modern NFL with people's hyper fixation on the quarterback position being the end all be all. They sort of ignore out all the rest of the parts of the team, and everything just becomes the quarterback is this everything. He's the everything. And I think that that's a wrong way of looking at the sport and the wrong way of looking at the team. And Sam Darnold has played really, really upper level quarterback play through the majority of this season. It's not been perfect, but this is the part I always come back to too. What is the effing standard we're trying to go off of here? If we get anything short of Joe Burrow or Matt Stafford, that's not good enough. That's got to be the base requirement of play from the position. And if it's not that, we kick him to the side. Even to your point, if we're getting a very highly valued deal where the guy for the bang for the buck is tremendous, that's where you lose me as a fan when you kind of go down that road with this. Sam's got some things that are certain issues there. Some of this, as I said, is correctable. You mentioned the mobility stuff. Used the mobility last week, as you and I have been harping on. Found effectiveness with it. So it's, the adjustments late in play don't turn into a superhero. I think that's adjustment mentally that he can make and rectify where he goes, okay, that's where this is going on. It's happening at a very specific spot. Not that it's happening here, there, and everywhere and all over the place. Specific times these issue comes up, I think they are correctable. I don't think we need him to play at a Burrow, Stafford, Allen-like level in order to go get a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. But I agree that this is one that you see pervasively there throughout the fan base. And I just don't quite get it. The man's played great quarterback play, just threw 3 touchdowns this last week. Nitpicking away at his performance every week or waiting for him to failure at every week is not serving the good of anything. The team's not going for a quarterback this offseason. They're not pivoting off Sam Darnold. You're not going to find him in a pumpkin and that this wish you have throwing into the well is going to occur. It's just not. He's played really good football and appreciated. It's hard to find. We found a great value deal. We took care of something that's the hardest position as much as anything in the sport to go find, just to find this functional level of play. Yet you're right. We do have people that are sort of complaining and moaning about it in some ways. And I don't get it. The guy the last 2 years, the thing that you get me here, Brendan, on the impact is everybody just the Sam haters are completely overlooking the fact that what he's done the last 2 teams on 2 different teams. He surpassed Peyton Manning and Tom Brady for the most wins on 2 different separate teams in NFL history. The place that he left is sucking wind. The place that he arrived at offensively was sucking wind last year. That there's not a connection at times from this fan base. I'm not asking you guys to act like he's the next Russell Wilson, but to Brendan's point, that there's not this collection that's just ready to be right on the edge of the cliff to jump out, and they're watching Sam with this real keen eagle eye every step that he makes, just ready to jump off that Sam cliff, just ready at any moment. I don't get it, man.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel it coming, and I'm tired. If it happens, it will be the 6th offseason in a row where a non-trivial portion of the Seahawks fan base wanted to throw the quarterback off the side of the cliff. Like, think about it. Like the COVID year, there was, I remember, a significant portion of the Seahawks fan base that was done with Russell Wilson, wanted to get him out of here. Next year, same thing. And then we dealt with it with Geno Smith every year he was here. And now Sam Darnold. That's 6 straight years where you have a loud, I'm going to say it's a minority because it is, but a pretty loud and substantial minority of the fans who are just wanting to run the quarterback out of town. I'm tired. I don't want to do it again. It's exhausting. It really is, because, it'd be one thing if we were the Jets and we were dealing with terrible quarterbacks every year. We're not. We're just not. These quarterbacks have been, other than maybe a little bit of stuff with Russell Wilson that last year, mostly been good, really good.
It has been. I'm tired of it a little bit too. I think that there was plenty of reasons at certain times in those years, Russell at the end, to question it at that time. I don't think there's as much a reason to question what Sam Darnold's doing here. You want to take the record that he's carved out. You want to take the performance we've seen on the eye test. You want to take the fact that, like, he's having statistically one of the better seasons in Seahawks history at the quarterback position. Which metric do you want to use in order to determine that the guy's playing strong football? And again, back to your point on this, you're not paying him the $53 million a year of a Brock Purdy. You're not paying him the $50 million of a Trevor Lawrence. You're getting it almost at approximately about half that price. Yet you're getting far beyond performance surpassing of those guys that are being paid much better than him. Not a part of the problem. He's a part of the solution, and a part of the solution both this year and, yes, moving into the future.
Mm-hmm. By the way, we are on track, and we probably will, by the end of this year, have a top 3 scoring offense in the league. Russell Wilson never did that, ever, in any year. Geno Smith never did that in any year. In fact, I believe it has happened one time in franchise history. The 2005 team finished first. That's it. Like, that is
And
the only team we've ever had.
How much money are we spending on the offense, Brendan?
I think is it second to last or last? Either way,
I mean,
your point is good either way, but it might be last. I can't remember.
it's like, how do you look at all of these parameters? I don't get it from the high. And again, it's that thing where it's just, they come in with, I think, a little bit of a bias rather than really looking at the situation and trying to assess it honestly. You come in with kind of this, I don't like the guy kind of vibe. And then that sort of direction guides you from there in your outlook of the position and how he's performing. And I think that that's a bit of a backwards way of looking at it when there's so much other data here to the other side of it that speaks to how well he's playing, how historically amongst other Seahawks quarterbacks he's playing, how he's going and getting you wins, the 2 different stops, how little you're spending on your money on your offense because you're eating so much dead money by the offensive players that you cut away, like DK Metcalf, like Geno Smith, like Tyler Lockett. All this needs to be taken into a little bit into account on top of the fact the guy's here in his first year. We don't think this is going to get better into year 2. We don't think this will get into better in year 2 if Clint Kubiak does remain as an offensive coordinator with Sam. You better believe it will. It does in almost every case across the league when you give those coaches that extra time, those players that extra time to play in that situation longer.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry for going on the tangent from this super chat.
No.
I know this super chat wasn't all about the Sam Darnold thing, but I did want to dig into that a little bit because I feel it coming and I just don't want to deal with it. It's really, really tiring. Every offseason, you have a bunch of voices just trying to throw the quarterback off a cliff. It's tiring, especially this year when it's really not warranted.
Yeah. If we don't get to a Super Bowl, I don't buy in the least that it's the quarterback position that prevented us from getting there. I really don't.
Trevor Lonely. Thank you for the membership over on Brandon's side. Welcome aboard his boat there.
Thank you, Trevor. Appreciate you hopping aboard, man. We're going to be doing a call-in show tonight for members of the channel at 5:00. So do, Trevor, keep an eye or go take a look over at your community post. I've got the link there to the show tonight. So if you are a member of the channel, please do join us at 5 for a call-in show.
Oh, yeah, we got Atlanta tonight. If they could salvage their draft pick, that would be great. Just, any little bit that they want to do.
Tampa Bay, man. Tampa Bay, brother. I'm not holding my breath on that one.
That Tampa Bay team kind of, they've been playing some awful football lately. So I think anything's on the table.
It might be, but boy, Cousins looked like he didn't want to be hit anymore last week, Brendan.
Yeah. Shout out to him, though. He was getting the ball out of his hands fast when we got pressure. He was teleporting that ball out of his hands.
Well, that's why. Yeah, but he wasn't exactly. He just airmail it. He just throw it off into the nexus. And he's like, just don't hit me. Like, is there a guy there or not? I don't know. I'll throw it at the feet of a guy. Like, he's 15 to 30, 50% completion percentage because of the fact that he was just, if he got breathed on, if we were just breathing on him, it was like,
yeah.
It's a noise he made, by the way, every time he threw by when we were.
And speaking of Tampa, by the way, however bad you think Baker Mayfield has been since the Seattle game, he's been worse. Like, I was looking at some of the metrics yesterday. I was looking at some of the advanced quarterback numbers. He has been the worst quarterback in the league since that game. It is bizarre what has happened. He has been worse than JJ McCarthy in terms of EPA. I don't know what happened.
I think a little bit is the receiver situation. Godwin's not come back right from that injury. Aboka is not JSN. He is a slot guy. That's where he needs to live. And then McMillan, the Washington kid they took in the 3rd round last year, has been out all year, along with Mike Evans.
He's out
all year.
Yeah.
So they got Cade Otton at tight end. I think Bucky Irvin's been out a lot of the year as well. So it's been an offense that's been pretty removed for as far as skill position players go. I think they're getting Evans back tonight, by the way.
Yeah, I've heard that too, but the fall off has been like if he doesn't course correct in these next few games, I don't even know what happens this offseason. He's in a contract year next year. I would not extend that guy with the way he's played lately at all. I wouldn't even consider it. So interesting offseason coming for Tampa, I think.
I think they're going to roll with him. Remember too, he got injured, I think, in the Rams game or something. So he's probably been playing through a left joint injury in his shoulder. In addition to all this, I think that the Buccaneers are going to do some of the advanced math on this one with it and go, he'll get the extension this offseason. He's played so well for them prior to this that I think that this is, if those guys were healthy, it'd be one thing, or if a couple of more were healthy, that'd be one thing. But as peeled down as it's been, I think that the Tampa is going to look at that and go, look, it's a bad year injury luck wise for the receivers and running backs.
I would not extend him, though. I would just make him play out on the contract year. There's no way I'm giving him a penny. It's been so bad. I
Yeah,
don't
but I
know.
mean, how do you look at it though? The past 2 years with him, because the thing with this isn't just about this year with this; it's about the data that you have with him for the past 2 years of him playing there prior to this issues going on. So the prior two
Mm.
years when he had the full his
Oh,
health
oh,
out.
whoa, 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 whoa.
Sorry, you
Test,
okay?
test, test. No,
Can you hear
you
me?
cut out there for a second. Okay, you're good now. You're good now. Go ahead.
Okay, we're good. Sorry. I was just looking at some of my automatic. When you look at the prior 2 years that he was there and he had relatively decent health with the skill position players, he throws for 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Then the next year comes back with 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. And even this year, in what is a down year, right, as you said, he's going to throw for probably 3,500, 3,800 yards. He's going to have 30 touchdowns, maybe 9 interceptions. That's still going to be that 3 year run of that for teams, and knowing how they pay quarterbacks when it isn't the best of times, when they don't do enough data to give you, that's more than enough. I guarantee you, Brendan, guarantee it with 99.9% certainty, he's going to get an extension this year in this offseason. They're not going to. The
I don't know.
shoulder injury, the joint injury. I mean, do you
Yeah.
expect him if he's got like a bad joint injury in there and all these receivers down? I guess let me ask you this: why is your thinking then that he's supposed to still be doing just as good as he did the past couple of years, losing all those guys?
Well, the thing is, I wasn't that impressed by him the previous 2 years. I thought he was riding Liam Cohen's coattails, and I thought that offense made life easy. Kind of like Jordan Love. It's kind of the same thing with Jordan Love, because the guy who is regularly considered the best quarterback in the league right now by advanced metrics is Jordan Love. And I'm not impressed with Jordan Love either. I think that LaFleur is doing all the heavy lifting there. That's kind of how I felt about Baker in Tampa. So, I mean, I know he played well the last 2 years, but it didn't move me that much in terms of my evaluation of him as just being a decent quarterback, a workable quarterback. And then this year he starts out great, but I mean, the last 2 months really have just been so bad. I don't know. The only thing is there's nobody else you can go get, right? This quarterback class is terrible. Daniel Jones just tore his Achilles. You probably don't want to mess with that. Like, there's nobody else you can go get. So I would definitely keep Baker, I think, but I would not extend him. I would definitely say, let's see what happens in 2026.
Yeah, see, he's going to want to be traded if you pull that move on him. So you don't. That's just an option. It's not on the table for Tampa Bay when he goes in the final year of his deal. It's going to be, you pay me or you move me to San Francisco or something and grab Brock or something. But I just think that there's no quarterback that would have succeeded in this environment better than what he's done with what he's been given there in Tampa Bay this year. It's fair to say that he had some help from Liam Cohen to a degree there, but guys don't put 4,500 yard seasons up and 40 touchdowns up because an OC helped them to get there. And that it's all in that OC that made that happen. I can't buy into that. You've had to play stellar quarterback play to make that go. And again, I don't think there's even a question in Tampa Bay's mind at this point on this one. I think it's a no doubter that they sign him to an extension this offseason.
I'd be scared. I don't know, man. I was never the biggest fan of Baker. Maybe I'm coming in here with some implicit bias, but I was never a big Baker fan. And even when he was playing well these last couple of years, there was a part of me that was like, I don't know how much I buy it. So we'll see what happens next year. I think you're right. He will at least be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer next year, but I'm not convinced that he's going to ever get back to what he was earlier this season.
Maybe not. I mean, it's possible. And I was never a huge Baker guy. He's kind of warmed me over with what he's done the past couple of years in his play. But I guess let's just see what happens once he gets a little bit of that health on the outside. And if we, start to see that offense going back in line, if we see his shoulder joint get back to full health, because he's playing through that right now, and maybe we start to see him at a little bit, more of what we saw earlier on this season.
All right. Let's see here. So hopefully he comes through tonight. Hopefully he doesn't come through tonight. We could really use it. If he continues to play poorly tonight, that'd be great. I'd love that.
Yes. Amen.
B3N, thank you for the $1.99. Leonard Williams run block play versus Atlanta brick wall. Yeah, holding that Atlanta rushing attack to under 4 yards a carry. That's something I'm gonna definitely be taking with me coming out of that game, feeling pretty great about, because Bijan and Algier, I know that their advanced numbers are not very good, but they get yards.
They get yards. They're a good rushing attack, and they stayed with it, Brendan, throughout this game. They didn't just bail off of it into the early second half and start to get pass happy. 30 passing attempts on the day. I think they ended up even in a game where they lost 26-0. They ended up running the ball more than they passed, or they were right near on that 50-50 mark just about. And so they really tested you, and those guys held up. And with that light box, Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy, I'll tell you what, heavy lifting on those guys to have to hold the line on that, hold up the blockers, go make plays into the backfield, shoot the gaps and whatnot. There's a lot on their back to make sure that they stay clean up there and keep their linebackers free and flowing. He's done a great job. Love what we've gotten from Leonard Williams. He goes into the final year of his deal next year. We often don't talk about the contract ascension potentially to put him on, but maybe something that the team looks to do as well.
I'd do it, man. I would do it.
I would well.
When I was looking at this season, I was like, there's no way Leonard Williams is going to be as good as he was last year. I think he has been. Overall, maybe you'd say a little bit more here, a little bit less there, but I think he's been as good. So I rock with it. Those interior guys, they play good until they're like 36 sometimes.
Bingo. That's the part that gets me a lot of confidence in that, Brendan. And it's kind of the freak shows that can play the little bit longer. It's the Calais Campbells. It's the Ndamukong Suhs. It's the Leonard Williams that was the former top 5 pick in the first round with that talent where, okay, you lose a little bit, but you still have so much in that tank that you came off the back of with that talent that you can still be a very effective player, especially combined with your mentals and your mastery essentially of the position at that age.
As of right now, if you look at the voting, it looks like Murphy and Leonard will both make the Pro Bowl. I'm guessing that doesn't happen very often. I'm wondering if maybe both guys make all pro, maybe not first team, but I would, if it were up to me, I'd say you're not going to find interior defensive linemen that are playing at the level that those two guys are. Like Chris Jones has fallen off a cliff this year. I think he hasn't been the same at all. Who else is out there that's really, really good on the interior? It's
Derek Brown's been having a pretty crazy year for the Panthers on the inside.
That's a good one.
But I don't know if I'd take him over our two guys necessarily. To your point on that, I think you touch on a good point with this. He's got, Derek Brown's only got 4 sacks on the year. They got him beat there. Dexter Lawrence has had a little bit of a quieter year, to your point. I think some of the big Vita Vea types, Chris Jones, you mentioned.
DeForest Buckner's not an all-pro level player anymore.
And he's got the neck injury through a lot of the year. So
that too.
He's really not. Cam Hayward has gotten old. I think you make a good point, man. I mean, I look through this. I can't think of who would we target that would be the one that would overtake that.
And I would ask, how many times has that happened in NFL history where one team had 2 interior defensive linemen make all pro?
Jeez, you probably got to go back to 70s with like the Purple People Eaters or the Miami maybe no name defense. Well, I can't think of a time
from my lifetime. Remember the Vikings team that had the Williams brothers, Kevin Williams, Pat Williams,
the Williams wall.
Yeah, I don't think Pat was an all pro though. He was just kind of like a really good space eater. I don't think he ever got accolades like that. So this could be one of the great all-time interior defensive lines, like ever.
Yeah. Which one? Who are you taking? Sam Adams and Cortez Kennedy, or Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy?
I think I'm taking this one. I think that like maybe you take Cortez over either of the guys alone, but Sam Adams was a nice player, but I never got the sense that he was some future Hall of Fame historically elite guy. He was just really, really good at his job. But Williams and Murphy, both those guys, they're so destructive and they're such good playmakers too. It's not like Murphy's out there averaging 1 tackle a game and just taking up space. No, he's making plays.
Amen. I'm with you. 100% with you on this one.
Kai2053, thank you for the $5. Going to my first ever Seahawks game at Lumen Field on Sunday versus the Colts. Looking forward to an exciting 12s experience. Get the seats under the overhang this week, I would say.
Or bring the garbage bag, man. The garbage bag thing you can wear over the top for the rain. Because
what do they call that? The poncho?
Yeah, you get the garbage bag poncho. Because it's gonna probably be a little wet out there. But congrats, man. I think you're gonna be really lucky because not only are you gonna get to go in the stadium and see the Seahawks play, but I think that crowd, albeit they're the Colts, is going to be really turned up. I think that the fan base is starting to go, oh wow, this team is kind of for real. Oh wow, this is really something we should be paying attention. Oh wow, they're not a year out. They're going right now. So it'll be a fun game, and I think you're gonna have a great time out there, even in the rain.
Yeah, it's a pretty good game to go to. And I'm actually going to be doing a watch-along stream of this game as well, which I rarely do. So hopefully we have fun there as well.
Hell yeah, let's go.
I like it. Let's see here. Feed me more. Thank you for the $2. Thoughts on Joe Burrow's comments? He's toast. I assume that's toast. Yeah, I saw the Joe Burrow stuff, and it's not really that surprising, is it? When you think about all the stuff going on here, it doesn't feel that surprising, does it?
The groundwork for this was long set last year when he started talking. Remember, this is the same thing that Russell did a year out from being moved, right? So we've been down this road before with these quarterbacks, so we're kind of used to it. It's kind of like a standard issue, like PR. It's like a PR attack on a team to kind of set the stage for you to be able to get yourself out of a place you don't want to be. So he started this last offseason with the piping up and bop and bop and forcing the Bengals to sign the 2 receivers to the big contracts, despite the fact that they did not want to do it. And now he is, yes, I think he's starting to push for that thing of like, your ineptitude needs to allow you to let me out of here. And then the Bengals are going to do their hard line thing with Mike Brown and saying, we got you under contract, you're going to stay. And then Joe comes back, as he inferred in the recent presser, I don't know if I want to play. I don't know if I want to play. So now you come back to Bengals and like, do you want to hardline this so much that I'll go and sit out? Because that's what people, well, he's under contract. Bengals will just, and this is what they were not willing to do with Carson Palmer. And why I have said for a year and a half, I believe that Burrow is on his way out of town because he's setting the stage, that he's letting you know what he wants to do. He's letting you know his intentions. The Bengals organization's done this before, and they're not going to sit there with, they've got an offer of 3 first-round picks on the in front of them. Do you think, Brendan, that they're going to literally sit there with 3 first-round picks and go, we're going to hard line this and force him? Or do they just take the 3 first-round picks, save the money on his contract at that point, less money off their books? We know they're cheap as hell. I think that they go that route. And I'm really worried at this point that it's going to be that Rams situation. It's going to be those 2 first-round picks. It's going to be Atlanta stuff. They throw them an extra first. And that's the bet. You throw the Bengals 2 first-round picks in this draft, a top 7 pick in this draft, and they get a future first beyond that. There's too much in this that to me just kind of lines up potentially. And I'm very concerned about it.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that it could get pushed to an Andrew Luck situation where he just says, screw it, I'm going to go retire? Like, I think that's on the table too.
It's a possibility. I mean, I think that Joe certainly has been beat up a lot and his body's taken a heavy amount of abuse. And if he was a guy that wanted to say, I don't want to take any more of that, and I don't see any hope with this Bengal organizations that's going to hardline me to force me to stay, that I'm not going to have to experience that again in the future. And so, yes, but I just come back to, would the Bengals really be in a position to say, we're going to force you to retire because we want to turn down all the draft capital we can get back in return? Knowing, again, from a Bengals standpoint, what have you won in recent years? You know, you're going to miss the playoffs again this year. All this money you've invested, you can't even get in the playoffs. So maybe it's worthwhile to turn this over, especially when you're a cheap ass organization that's going to lean in that direction anyway, by and large. On a good day, you're going to be the cheapest of cats in the worst of times. I go, I can see where this just gets to be where Joe's already kind of forced this along. And that when quarterbacks kind of do when it's not reactive, Brendan, like Joe didn't wake up yesterday and was like, I'm tired of this. But when he's been kind of setting the stage for a year and a half, that's to me when you eventually are able to force the team's hand and make something happen.
Yeah. Who else would it be? Like, who would be some other teams that might be in on that? Like, I'd say the Eagles, but that feels impossible because of all the dead money with Hurts. That's probably like literally not something they can do. Like the Steelers are in the division, so the Bengals wouldn't do that.
But the 49ers,
are they able to get off the Purdy deal?
It's going to cost them, but I mean, that's something that maybe you can throw the Bengals as you give them all the picks and then you throw them on the Purdy contract in there. Then the Bengals perspective, they don't have to deal with the bonus money on Purdy's deal necessarily. Or you can move Purdy to a different team and just get some extra draft capital from that on that. They're going to eat the dead money on that. But if they don't have to give Burrow a new contract extension and he just gets to play on his current deal, it's kind of an apples for apples swap at that point, right? Like, okay, you do eat the dead money on Purdy, but it's all base salary and on the Burrow thing then as you're bringing him in. And remember last year, they ate $100 million on their cap to set themselves in a cap situation for this next upcoming season to where it's going to be able to be more tangible. And you've also got the Brandon Ayuk situation. If they can get out from under that contract fully because they're able to avoid that just frees it up that much more to make a deal like this. Yeah, I could see them being that team to do that.
I think the most fun would be the Colts, but they can't because they already traded for Sauce, so not them.
And Bengals probably don't move him inside the conference.
Let me see here. What else? No. Yeah, there's not a lot of great stuff here. Maybe the Vikings if they're already done with McCarthy, but I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I'd be done with McCarthy. I don't know if they are.
That could be an interesting one. I like your idea there. I mean, that's a possibility, and they're going to have potentially a good draft pick on the front end there to throw the Bengals to the front side of that. So I think there could be something like that. Burrow gets to go and play with Jefferson and Addison.
I think that's about it,
think
though. I can't think of anybody else. Like, it's not going to be like there's no reason he'd want to go to a place like New Orleans or something like that. So,
No.
yeah, that's it.
No. Yeah, that's probably about it. Yeah, I could see him definitely, maybe a Falcon team. They'd flip Penix back and the flip with it, and then maybe that. But there would be a lot of teams.
Mm-hmm. Falcons one's not bad. I could see that if they're done with Penix. And like I said last week, I would be done with Penix because he's torn the same Achilles 3 times. Like, at a certain point, come on.
Yeah, I think if when you draft him, you go, he tears his ACL. We're hoping it doesn't happen. We're rolling the dice on this one. We're trusting the talent. But if it does happen, we can't just operate like it's not an issue and that we can just roll on through with a substandard backup and we'll be fine, especially if we have a team that we think is ready to compete.
Dylan Sosa, thank you for the $9.99. Is it fair to say the offense struggled due to Horton missing, or is it a coincidence that the offense has been underperforming since he went out, especially since Sam didn't have chemistry with Rashid? So I do have a few thoughts on this one. Do you want to go first, though, Brandon?
You go ahead.
First.
You start out. I don't know if
right.
I got a strong opinion on this.
Okay, so first of all, I think that if Torrey Horton was healthy right now, he'd be running cardio out there and getting the ball thrown his way like once a game. We don't throw the ball very much. And with JSN and Shaheed and Cup and Barner out there would not be very many balls for Horton to catch. He was barely getting thrown the ball before we got Shaheed. So I don't think Horton would be doing anything on this current offense. And second, I reject the notion that the offense has been underperforming since Torrey Horton went out. It's playing differently, but I don't think that it is really underperforming. Like, you look at this most recent game, we scored 24 points on offense. I'm not even counting the special teams touchdown in the second half. Maybe they underperformed a little bit against the Vikings, but they scored 30 points on the Titans. I guess they underperformed against the Rams, but remember, the Rams have a top 3 defense, so you're going to expect underperformance there, and Horton doesn't really have much to do with it. So I don't really see this offense as underperforming. It's just not as explosive.
Yeah, to your point, Brendan, I'm going through the numbers here, trying to kind of look at this a little bit. You got 38 points, like you say, Commanders, 44 against the Cardinals, and they got 30 against the Titans, 26 against the Vikings, where you shut it down in the third quarter and stopped offensively doing anything. I mean, you're getting up on these games and you're not putting the pedal down into the third quarter at times because you're just so thoroughly up, not just because you're being conservative, but because you've literally lapped them like 3 times over. So my feeling on this, Jillian, would be that it was probably more coincidental. Certainly Sam and developing the chemistry with Rashid, there's going to be some bumps in the road of that over a game in these recent games at times and trying to find that connection just right. I don't think it's been an inhibiting factor, though, that's prevented them from being a much better offense versus if Horton had been out there from an alternative standpoint. I think Brendan's points are probably pretty good ones and that you weren't looking to target him a lot as it was. One of the last games he had here, he had like 3 targets, no catches, and a game you put up 27-19 on the Texans. So I think it's just coincidental, in my opinion, on that as much as anything else. And again, the offense hasn't been atrocious. Brendan was talking about Tampa Bay. You want to see a fall off of an offense that's super explosive and then having a true fall off. Look at Tampa Bay and what they've had happen down the course of the back end of their schedule. You're still putting up points. It's inconsistent at times. I call it uneven offensively, but we can't also undersell the fact the offense is also still being very hyper explosive when it is finding productivity, even with the Horton out of the lineup. And that was a commonality early on in the season too.
Yeah, I think that a few of the games we played earlier this year got in people's head that we should score a touchdown every time we get the ball. And we're not going to. Okay. We're not the Baylor Bears playing the TCU Horned Frogs back in the 2010s. Like that's not how NFL football works.
No, it's 10 games tend to be tight. You don't tend to blow teams out. You don't tend to just mollywop defenses every single week. It's a league of parity for a reason.
Yeah, we did it against the Saints. We did it against the Commanders, and it was great, but that's not going to be the norm, and we should not expect it to be.
No, absolutely not.
Dylan, again, thank you for the $1.99. It was the first red zone drive, 18 wide open. Okay, I thought that was after the interception, but maybe I'm getting the drives mixed up a little bit here. Maybe. I'm sorry. Arroyo only played like 7 snaps that whole game, so not a lot of opportunities for him to get open, but maybe.
Dylan, your point stands. I mean, it's there a little bit. I don't think it's a glaring issue in Sam's game that he just spends a whole game staring at JSN. But I think over the course of a game, there's been some times and moments where you look at it and go, you've got to go through your reads. You got to go through your pre-snap, verification process about what the defense is sending you in which direction, as opposed to just dropping back and getting that hyper fixation on JSN because you just trust his ability to get open so thoroughly. It's a hard line to walk a little bit because the guy just always seems open from, I'm sure, Sam's perspective, and he has such trust and faith in him, and they have such a great connection. You want him leaning in that in certain ways, but it's a balancing act there.
Right. Let's see here. Jason Feidler, thank you for the $10. Good show, fellas. 5 for each of you. Go Hawks. Well, thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you for that, man. Very kind of you.
Right. So I guess I'm going to use Brandon to launder my money because
there you go
to him. So you're my Marty Bird, I guess.
That's on me.
Yeah, you gotta find creative ways to beat the tax man these days, guys. So you got to use your stream partner to launder your money now.
They're hitting us content creators hard over here, man.
Peter Go Hawks, thank you for the $1.99. How about the Evil 11 for a nickname? I haven't heard that one before.
I haven't heard that one either. We had a menagerie of names thrown out, Brendan. We got let you pick this one, okay? You pick from this. Here's the nicknames. I'll add Evil 11 to the mix here. So here was the nicknames. I gotta find a freaking site that I can do we can have like a voting process on, but have on YouTube it only gives you the 4. I need like the 30 options. So we've got the Emerald Scourge, Department of Defense, Mob, the Death Zone, Tsunami, SEA, Tsunami. We got Mike's Mercenaries, Mike's Militia, Mike's Merciless Marauders, Demons of Defense, Voltron Defense, Stunt Demons, the Tomahawk Tribunal, the Sound Barrier, Pound Garden, the Sound Surge, the Rain City Ramparts, Emerald Wall, Balls to the Wall, the Demon's Nest, Region of Doom, the Pacific Graveyard, Legion of Reborn, Gridiron Massacres, the Hellhawks, the Dark Side, the Abyss, the Dreadnought, the Soul Takers, Gridiron Grinders, Dark Side Dreadnoughts, the Alaskan Way Assassins, kind of like that one, the Seattle Pound, Brotherhood of Boom, the War Machine. Any of those, liking any of those?
Some more than others. I mean,
we're going to get a poll on this though, folks.
That was a lot. That was a lot. I'd have to think about that one. And, well, I kind of liked the, I don't like anything that invokes Legion of Boom. I don't like anything just implicitly. I think that's bad. I think if you're trying to redo Legion of Boom, you're barking up the wrong tree.
I'm with it. I agree on that.
Sound Barrier is interesting, but I also feel like it's kind of confusing. Like what does that mean?
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know. What's your favorite?
I like Tsunami a little bit. I do dig that one. So I'm kind of on. That's kind of been my Tsunami and that have been the one that has kind of caught my eye a little bit on that one. But I don't know. I feel like we're still waiting on the right name to kind of hit. We're waiting for the right phonetic one that's got a little bit of a poetic tone to it, I suppose.
Yeah, I feel like first place is the MOB defense, the Mission Over BS one, because that seems to be the one the actual players are using.
Yeah, Mob.
Yeah, Mob. Yeah, and coming in last place is the 9/11 defense. What a terrible name for a defense. It reminds me of that tragedy.
Yes, that's not a good one.
Why do you laugh at that? That's by the way, that's actually a Norm Macdonald thing. Late in his career when he was doing the podcast, that's like all he would do. He would make 9/11 jokes and they would be so stupid, they would get the guest to laugh. And then he'd be like, why do you laugh at that? That's not funny. That's all Norm Macdonald would do. And it was great. That's all he would do. It was fantastic.
Norm was awesome.
Yeah. He found a way to get humor out of stuff that no one else could have.
Oh, he did. He had Hitler jokes too for days. He'd do the uncomfortable Hitler jokes, which is great.
Yeah. My favorite was the first episode of his podcast. He had a Bob Einstein on, who most people know him better as Marty Funkhauser, the Super Dave.
Oh, yeah.
and he was telling these terrible jokes, and Marty refused to sell any of them and was just sitting there getting all mad at him and getting offended. It was fantastic. It's
Yeah.
one of the funniest videos ever.
Yeah, Super Dave's got that face too, where he could pull off the annoyed, and he makes you laugh when he starts getting all annoyed and stuff. He had
Mhm.
that whole vibe with him too, which is great.
Yeah, the best. Okay, so I think we had here's Sean McLeodart with the 4.99. We found out my dog is near the end of the road this week, way before we had hoped. Thank you for being the distraction I need, guys. It means a whole lot.
Sorry to hear that, Sean. I feel for you with what you got going on. I've got some cats getting older, and I'm looking at the horizon line on that thing coming down the truck, and it's not a great feeling. You know, they're members of your family. They're really important parts, and I know Brendan's lost a couple in
Mhm.
recent years as well, and man, it's just never easy. But we're glad to be a place that can maybe help you get through it a little bit,
Right.
just
Yeah.
a tiny bit.
Yeah, the ones I've lost over the last couple of years are sugar gliders, and it was about the time I kind of expected it. Still not fun. Still not
Does it
fun.
make it easier? I mean, you know, it's a part of life, and it is, but it just they are members of your family. You get used to them, and there's no easy way through it. You just got to go through the process on that one a little bit.
Mhm. So sorry to hear that, man. But
Yeah,
I'm
hang in
glad you're
there.
here.
Thank you, Sean.
Mhm. All right. So okay, so we do still have to talk a little bit about the Colts defense, but first, I think we should tell the people a little bit about the sponsor.
Yes, sir.
While I get set up here, can you give them the general rundown on Sleeper?
Sleeper is an app that's, of course, sponsoring both me and Brendan. As in the state of Washington, this is going to be due to be opened up, I'm told, soon. I know many of you are waiting with bated breath for this thing to launch in full, so you can use it in full, and that there's been some last details from the legislative state getting everything right tax-wise, but it is going to be opened up. You can use the app fully in a casino, and they're sponsoring me and Brendan throughout this year. So when you use either of our code, you will get a 100% match of your first deposit up to $100, and that's going to be code NEST, that's NEST, or SBN. That's Brendan's, and we're having a
Mhm.
code off. So let's please use those codes. But they will match up to 100% of your first deposit up to $100. So that's $100 from me to you and Brendan to you through the app, and you support the channel at the same time. There's even more beyond that, though, where you get a free $20 entry just by creating a login. They'll throw $20 in your account, so 120 from us to you. If you're not able to use the app within the state of Washington, you can use it in any one of the innumerable casinos that we have in the area on their network. The app does work in full. We love this app because it's also, on top of being a sponsored app, it's got so many great options there for picks. I think that they've got a lot more of an expansive selection there to go through. You get your daily, your weekly fantasy. You can pair basketball and football together down the home stretch of the season. Throw a little college football in there if you want to toss that in there as well. You can mix and match, put a nice little ticket together. But use our code today. Terms and conditions do apply. Please see their site for details.
Okay, so let's get a ticket together for this week. So looking at this, and this is going to be kind of weird because they don't know who the Colts quarterback is, so they don't even have a line for him. I think it'd be pretty fun to be able to bet on passing yards for Philip Rivers. Let's see. Yeah, see, Indy selections are not available yet. Don't see that very often. Very unique circumstance here, but for some reason, this one speaks to me. Jason Myers more than 1.5 field goals made. I think that this team has struggled a little bit in the red zone lately, and Myers is in his bag at the moment. So I think he's going to make at least 2. What do you want to throw in there?
I'll take the over on Sam Darnold's 1.5 touchdown passes.
Okay, I can dig that as well. Let me try to find that here. I know it's here, but
Just go to the tab with touching pass down. So up at the top there, and then passing touch.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty good bet to me as well. Even if the offense doesn't play their greatest game, you would expect them to get a ton of opportunities because the Colts offense should be pretty impotent.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. So then I am going to go with, let's say, since he kind of had a breakout game last week for Seattle, let's go with the over on Shaheed at 27.5 receiving yards. I mean, he could do that in one catch very easily. That's kind of the nature of Shaheed's game. So I'm going to go with that. And give me one more for this week.
I'll take Taylor's over on the rushing yards for Taylor. Tap the rushing yards tab.
Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay. 71.5. He should get the ball plenty, so seems reasonable.
Yeah, I think they're just going to work him so much in this game. Not as much as I think it's just a different than the Bijan Robinson going to the outside run for the Falcons is different than Taylor to the inside. And that light box is going to be a little bit more, I think, vulnerable to the inside runs this week than last week.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's our ticket for this week. Myers over a field goal and a half. Darnold over a touchdown pass and a half. Shaheed over 27 and a half receiving yards. Jonathan Taylor over 71 and a half rushing yards. Remember, use the promo code. I have SBN. Hawks Nest has NEST. So either way, 100% match up to $100, and get over to Sleeper and test your football knowledge, and go beat the house, man. Go beat the house.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
All right, so let me get this off here. So let us talk a little bit about this Colts defense. Certainly not the most memorable part of the team this year, but they were good enough to take advantage of how good the offense was. So here's the Colts defense details. Let's figure it out.
Opportunistic defense, a defense with certainly some talent upon it. That is going to be they're legitimately at least a middle of the road average kind of defense in what they provide. I think cumulatively speaking, teams are passing on the Colts at the third highest rate in the NFL. Some of this has to do with a little bit of the early numbers of the season being slanted towards getting up on teams bigly, and then you got teams trying to throw the ball a lot to try to get back into the game. They're 16th in pressure rate. Latu is really the centerpiece for them, the kid that they took ahead of Byron Murphy last year. There's that old quote that they thought they were getting the best pass rusher in the entire draft. I think you're wrong about that. Colts general manager is our defensive tackle has more sacks than this guy. And he had a kind of a disappointing first year, but he's coming along and he's a solid player, free off the edge. I mean, he's fairly dynamic. Kwity Paye, another guy off the edge.
Randomly, Latu has 3 interceptions this year as a hand in the dirt defensive end. So I don't know how that happened, but I guess he's got a skill for it.
Hey, he's got an eye for it, at least with it. They as well inside. DeForest Buckner might be coming back off of a neck injury. There's still some wonder on that. We'll see where that stands. He's still very good player. Not maybe what he once was exactly, but still a very strong player, and what he brings to the supply in the front, an all around good player there. Grover Stewart's had a bit of a career resurgence as a run stuffing nose tackle as he's getting older and older, but still able to maintain, at very least, as just being a stout run defender from the nose tackle position. So from a defensive line standpoint, they get you good there, I think. Cornerback room, that's going to be where this is going to be, I think, more opened up. Now they're allowing 16th in average separation on routes run, but this is a cornerback room that's going to be down on Ahmad Gardner, probably down on Ahmad Gardner. We don't know for sure, but there. Charvarius Ward's going to be out in this game. So down there, 2 outside cornerbacks, that's probably going to go up a little bit. And your ability to create separation out there for Sam and some of his reads and whatnot, which will help him out, certainly tremendously. They're 26th in time to pressure, while Seattle is 24th. So though they have a 16th pressure rate, it does tend to take some time to get there, which is not going to, I think, bode well for them necessarily. And 15th in blitz rate, 15th in pass EPA. This is what I'm saying, kind of a middle of the road defense, right, Brendan? And a lot of the numbers kind of back this up. 27th in yak on the bad side. So they do allow some yards after the catch. Tackling can be a little bit of an issue there. 26th in stack box rate, 16th in light box rate. This is the part where I think this works in their benefit against Sam and company, because I think if you play the Hawks offense, I don't think it works in your favor stacking the box. I think that you're giving us an advantage by doing that. I think that you force us to play a little slightly left-handed if you can go to a little bit more of the light box, especially if we can't run into the light box. But to my point on this now, you've got to be able to run on a light box, which middle of the road, 16th usage. If they're going to run that out there for you, with how few teams this year have been willing to do that, especially when you're in 2 tight end looks, you've got to hammer that running game. You got to hammer it in this game, in my opinion, especially in bad weather.
Right. And by the way, for whatever it's worth, to your point, Sauce Gardner did not practice today, so I think you can kind of cross him off. And DeForest Buckner was limited, so it looks like he will be available. Maybe they don't play him because they figure it's a lost cause, like you were talking about. And let's see here. Braden Smith is still out, but we're talking about the defense here. But it is Charvarius Ward's on IR, by the way, so we know for a fact he's not playing. So they have no secondary right now, really. Their safeties aren't bad. Let me take that back. Their safeties aren't bad, but they have nothing at corner.
No, Bynum and Nick Cross are good safeties. They're opportunistic. They're good all-around players. And what they bring is Alexander, the middle guy for them. They're sort of their Ernest Jones. He's a solid all-around player in the middle too. I mean, they don't have anything. It's really the outside corner is the glaring weakness because of injury coming into this game, but they have a pretty stable, solid a thorough defense and that it's not missing a lot of, weakened parts all across the board. Pretty solid.
Yeah. One thing, it's a little like Atlanta, where they don't have any one pass rusher that is really stellar, but they're getting decent pressure from like 8 different guys. Like Latu has like 5 sacks. I think Kwity Paye has 4. Buckner has 4. Grover Stewart has like 3. Did I say his name right? Grover Stewart? Yeah.
No, you're right. Well, Stewart's got the 0.5, but then you got Nelvin Gallimore, 3.5.
Thank you.
That's what you're thinking
Gallimore
of,
with
yeah.
a 3.5. So it's a little like Atlanta, where Atlanta did not have one dominant pass rusher, but they had a bunch of guys that were effective. And I actually really like their front. It's just I don't know what's going on with Buckner, but that's a really good front 4, I think.
And they generate the pressure, unlike Atlanta, where a lot of that production coming from a variety of places you could kind of put in the back of you blitz at the second highest rate in the NFL. They blitz middle of the road. So a lot of the pressure they're generating is true pressure off the guys beating their man, not because you've confused the offensive line or stacked up a box. And that makes them a threat in that way because they can, again, I think that like the Rams have shown us sort of the blueprint for how to play, I think, this Hawks offense, which is run the light boxes, stop the run with the light box, drop all the guys back into coverage. And you might be able to get Sam to really kind of patty cake on the ball and hold things and kind of stare things down a little bit because he's got so many bodies back in the back end there and he wants to push the ball down the field. So I think they do have a way of maybe setting you up for that. You push the ball down the field, you hold the ball a little longer. Those guys need to generate the pressure on their own, but the front 4 have more of an opportunity now to do that. So it'll be a bit of the key for me defensively on this is how we're able to not just pass protect, but the answers that we have to dial up here if they're going to take that approach this week.
Very vanilla defense overall when you take a look at all these numbers, which feels about right for that Colts team, I think. That seems about appropriate for the way they should be playing with an offense that was that unbelievably good.
Yeah, it's built to have an offense that kind of plays from ahead and a defense that can be opportunistic and put you away with the pass rush. They pin the guys get to pin their ears back now off the front 4. They didn't know they were going to be this good coming into the year. They'd hoped, but that was sort of the hopeful plan, I think, in how they've structured this.
So I want to talk a little bit about who they're actually going to have at corner with no Sauce and no Ward. It looks like you've got, just to speak about it for a little bit here, Jonathan Edwards and Mekhi Blackman and Jalen Jones. I know all those names, but I don't think they've done anything in the NFL recently. And then you've got Kenny Moore in the nickel. They've still got him, but this should be an opportunity for JSN to absolutely destroy this Colts defense if they try to play him straight up.
Was Mekhi a safety at USC?
That sounds right. He was on the Vikings, and he did not play a snap last year. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe he tore his Achilles in the offseason last year or something. But let me. I
might be misremembering this too. They got him as defensive back, so I might be just misremembering this and confusing with another USC safety recently, probably. I know these names a little bit, Brennan, like you say, but these are not even guys that are, journeymen that have been through the league and established themselves. They're trotting out kind of just some guys. And let's face it, there's a reason this offseason that you signed Charvarius Ward from the Niners. There's a reason that you gave up in desperation 2 first-round picks to the New York Jets in order to get Ward in here. And it's because you looked at your cornerback room and you said, this is nowhere near close well enough. And I mean, that 2 first-round picks for Sauce is the canary in the coal mine on this situation to how bad you thought your cornerback room was, because you're not making a move like that midseason if you think you can even get by. It's such a risky deal. So they don't have the guys to call upon as far as the backups go. They got Justin Wally also on IR. I don't know where he would have really fit into their rotation. That's another cornerback that they're missing. It's very lean. This is probably the weakest cornerback room walking into this game that we have faced this year, and that's saying something, Brennan.
Excuse me. But yes, I think I agree with that. And I'm thinking back to that Rams game, which I think was week 3 or week 4 when the Colts played the Rams. And they would not roll coverage over to Puka. And that was a close competitive game. That was a game that could have gone either way down to the very end. And they would just not roll coverage to Puka, even though he was killing them. So did they learn from that? Or are we going to see another game where maybe they don't roll coverage to JSN and he's just able to do whatever he wants to do all game against these backup corners? Like what would you expect?
I would expect a rolling of the coverage because you don't have the corner health in the same place that it was during the Rams game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know that they didn't have Ahmad Gardner, I don't believe at that time, but you at least then did you have Ward was maybe he was out. Ward was probably out of that game too as well. So I mean,
I think he's been
maybe not.
concussed like 4 times
He's
this
been
year or
3
something.
times. No, he did play that game. He was in
Okay.
that game. So maybe he got concussed some point in the game, but he was at least out there. But it's been kind of randomized with teams on when they're going to double JSN or not. And it seems like more often than not, most of these teams are kind of hardlined and saying, we're going to play our scheme the way we're going to play it. We don't want to slant the double teams to JSN's way. And teams that have done it have felt like they've been effective at kind of stopping our offense when they've decided to embrace a little bit of that. But it hasn't been something that we've seen as a commonality. And so I'm not going to predict it as being something we're going to run into, even though we probably should. Like if on this Colts team, I probably want to roll that coverage that way. But that's where Shaheed now gets the one-on-one. And now you're maybe able to lean on that a little bit more because if they do go that direction, the Colts go, we won't do that direction because we got Shaheed will just be opened up. We just got to play this straight up. It's a little bit of I think it tears them in 2 different directions on this one a little bit. Part of the benefit of getting Shaheed in here too is a true threat to the other side, but just for the burner status of what he can bring, of being able to just take the top off the defense, because you can't roll one double one way and roll another double another way. You are going to pay the price defensively in opening up other things, especially in the run game. So I think that's where it's going to put them in a bit of a pickle. And like to your point, that's not really in their base tendency from a defensive standpoint to roll doubles. You have some defenses that are based to do it. The old Bill Belichick defenses could have it built in to run double teams to a guy. Some defenses, Coach Carroll defense was the cover 3. It's not really bent. And I'm not knocking Carroll on this, just the structure of his defense. The structure of the cover 3 defense was not so that you're running double teams on guys. You're playing it straight up. You're covering the spots on the field that need to be covered up. That's more of what's at the centerpiece of that defense and driving it. And it's hard to just have a defense driven by that philosophy, Brendan, that just on a dime switches it up and now becomes double team centric to a wide receiver. You're kind of changing the whole structure of your defense to make that then be accommodated.
Yeah. I think I agree. I think I would expect them to do it, but I would have expected them to do it against Puka as well, and they did not. So we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, they had Xavier Howard out there. I forgot about that in that first game too. So not only did they not run the double time coverages, but they didn't he like retire? Didn't he retire after that game or something?
I haven't heard his name since then, so you might be right.
I think Xavier Howard retired very shortly after this game, so maybe Puka put him into retirement mode.
Who was the guy who retired at halftime a few years ago? Wasn't that a Colt as well?
Davis. That was Avonte Davis.
Yeah, that was a Colt too. What's going on in?
No, that was a Bill. Man? That was a Bill.
Oh yeah.
Buffalo
Okay.
Bill.
Okay. I feel like there was a Colt player that retired at halftime one time. I can't remember who it is though.
Might be right. That sounds maybe correct.
My favorite story about a player retiring mid-game is Harold Carmichael. Have you ever heard this story before?
Oh, you were right. By the way, you were right on the Avonte. He was at the Colts. It wasn't the Bears. Yeah. My bad.
What's going on in that Indianapolis locker room, man? What's up?
Wait, hold on. More recently, in 2025, former Colts star linebacker Shaquille Leonard officially retired as a Colt at halftime of a game.
Oh, boy. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lordy.
Yep. Oh, boy.
What's going on in Indianapolis, man? You're taking away the love of the sport from these boys. Come on.
Yep. It's Andrew Luck, too. I mean, I know it wasn't mid-game, but it was one of the most shocking retirements ever.
I'm just saying, you're right.
Something's not right. It's not right.
It's not right.
Yeah. My favorite mid-game retirement ever is Harold Carmichael. Do you remember his story? Yeah,
he was a big receiver.
Yeah, he was an Eagle his whole career. And last year of his career, he signs with the Cowboys. And he goes out there, he catches one pass, and he realizes this doesn't feel right. I can't be a Cowboy. I'm just going to retire right now. Like he catches one pass, and he's like, I can't do this. I'm an Eagle. What do you want me to do? That was my favorite because that felt real, right? Like I get it.
Oh, yeah. No, that's big on him to have that, shows the rivalries in the NFC East goes back in that way, man. Those players hated each other back in the day, still do, but it's kind of cool.
They don't hate each other the way they used to. That's for sure.
Not the same venom. Yeah. Probably not the same venom.
Yeah. Let's see here. Slowby Juan Kenobi. Thank you for the $1.99. Seahawks will be number 1 in the West after this week. Huh? I mean, Detroit. Yeah, Detroit will not go down. Like there's every reason to believe that they're about to go down. They're having all these injuries, but they're staying alive.
What I like about him facing Detroit, I mean, I hope Detroit can take him down, certainly, Brendan. I think it still sets us up in a position of we have to win that Rams game kind of regardless at that point. You know, the tiebreaker just doesn't work in our favor. If you lose that Ram game twice, then and the Rams aren't going to probably lose again after this, if this is the one shot on their schedule to lose. But the part that I like about this with Detroit is Detroit's a hyper physical team, Brendan. They're a team that just wants to, get you into a fight, play after play after play. And that's physically taxing. Remember the game last year between the Lions and the Rams at the start of the year? I don't know if you can, how beat up the Rams came out of that game. Like Puka was out, and I think Cooper got beat up a little bit. And, they definitely took a couple weeks to get themselves back into decent shape from a team-centric standpoint. You have that in combination with a short week. And I do wonder if this works a little bit as we look for those little advantages, playing at home, primetime Thursday night, but then shorter week after having to play that hyper physical team of the Lions might work in our benefit, whether the loss is had or not against them. But certainly the Lions are going to be desperate, Sloby, and they can't afford to lose this and still hope that they have any chance in the playoffs. They've got to win out. And so from a desperation standpoint, maybe the Rams already looking a little bit ahead to the Hawk game a bit here. Definitely going to be interesting to see how that thing kind of plays out this week.
Yeah, you want to talk about a team whose season has been defined by injuries now. Detroit's up there too. Like no Kirby Joseph, no Sam Laporta. I believe he's out. I think they dodged a bullet with Amon-Ra, it looks like, but it's they are not what they were when the season started, health-wise for sure.
No Brian Branch, no Terrion Arnold. This is the thing where I talked about too, the intensity of practices in training camp that Mike ran. And then I think that there's that extra level of intensity that a guy like Campbell runs, because he's like, well, this is where we'll chase our edge. This is where we'll be that separator from the rest of the NFL, because we're going to be the most physical, the biggest badasses that exist out there. But then there's a way you can take that too far in training camp, right, Brendan, where the practices are going a little too hard, where you've wore down that team over the course of a year. And isn't this the very same thing that we ran into Detroit last year with them, where they started to feel like they were running out of gas at the end of the year and the injuries were piling up? I kind of wonder in part if this is not maybe Campbell and the hard driving nature of we're going to chew kneecaps in training camp. Maybe you're paying a bit of the price on this downstream on that. First, those coaches that I think like McVay, I think is a master of this, of he really protects his team a little bit, but has the inter practice squad stuff and training camp and all that. He always seems to have his team ready to play at their best kind of by the end of the year. And he's kind of structured it up and manufactured that. I think Carroll did a good job of this when he was in the run of Legion of Boom, and kind of how he put the team together with that and having them at their best at the end of the year too. So it's maybe Campbell's a bit the opposite of that a little bit here, Brendan.
Yeah, he looked at the breadth of his domain and he wept, for there were no more kneecaps left to bite.
There weren't. They bit them all.
Yeah.
Bit and shoot them all.
Yeah, but big Detroit Lions fans this week, we are, for sure.
Go Detroit. Go Detroit.
So anyway, Colts, not much to say about special teams. They've had 3 different kickers this year, but their kickers have been fine. They just have had to cycle a few times. So I don't know. Seems like their special teams are fine to me. Don't they have the really nerdy looking guy as the punter, the guy with the glasses, Sanchez?
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So not much to say there. So I think all we need is a final score.
Rigoberto.
Yeah. I like these punters with personality, man. That's why I miss what was his name? Marquette King on the Raiders.
Oh yeah.
That guy was great.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was a live wire.
Yeah. So I think all we need is a final score. So what are you thinking?
I think that they make it interesting in the first quarter for a moment, and then we got a fan base that's going to be locked in with this team with what they got. That I think that stadium is going to be humming. I don't think the Colts are going to take over the stadium from a fan base standpoint. I think that we just we're in better shape. We're rolling better. They've got too many question marks, and quarterback position is too big of a question mark walking into a game like this on the road in Seattle, and one of the toughest environments to still play on in the NFL. I think Seattle takes this comfortably. I think we find balance offensively and explosiveness. I think defensively we're opportunistic, and we really do close down their passing attack as much as anything else in this game. I would say that this will be probably something like a 27-13 game in the way that I see this rolling out.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 27-6. I don't think Indy gets in the end zone. I'm with you on pretty much the general flow of the game, but I don't think Indy breaks into the end zone. I just don't see how that team puts together drives with Rivers and his noodle arm. And it was always a noodle arm. But again, from what I saw from that workout, from the clips I've seen from the practice yesterday, it is the noodliest of noodle arms, and I just don't believe that that's going to result in points.
I think if a guy like this is going to come back from 5 years of not playing, that he's going to need OTAs and training camp to get the body prepared. And even then, probably isn't going to make it through a season. Asking a guy to get off his bench who's been 5 years removed to the game, who already had physical limitations across the board, I just can't see how that he's able to make it happen. Maybe he's going to come out with that moxie. And look, Phillips got the mentality to do this. He's got the mentality of a player to come out there and not be swayed or not be scared or not be, like just go into the shell. He'll let it rip. He'll let it loose. And so, there is always that potential with a guy like that, but this is just too tough of a call for him to have to come in and get this done on the road, a short week like this. And I think we have it because of that as much as anything else.
Yeah. I hope they called Brett Favre this week. Like I know obviously he would have said no, but I hope that call was made because I think that would have been really funny.
I bet he's got a stronger arm right now than Phillip. At 54 years old, I bet it's stronger than Phil.
Yeah. I mean, that honestly might have worked a little bit better. I mean, at the very least, you're going to have more fun. He might throw 8 interceptions, but that's more fun than just punting 10 times a game.
Maybe so on that. And I mean, it's a desperate situation, man. You get past the trade deadline, you get past the early season when any of the viable quarterbacks that are on the street could be pulled up into your services. And there's just nobody else to pick through. You literally are making these kind of calls because it's desperate and it's not part of the plan. And you had 3 deep to hopefully take care of this, so you didn't have to do this. Reppin was never going to be a part of the plan. He's just a guy to be on the roster. And so this is what happens when you get desperate. You make some wild ass decisions.
Yeah, some of the discourse this week has been about how this is a reflection of how bad quarterback development in the NFL is right now. That a team has to go to Rivers, but to me, it's like, how often does a team lose 3 quarterbacks in a 1 week's? Or well, Anthony Richardson got hurt a while ago, but how often does a team lose all 3 quarterbacks at once? It's like this is a lottery ticket type situation. I don't think it's reflective of a bigger problem in this league.
No, and I mean, and from the Colts standpoint, they did as much as any team could do out there to have a 1-2 punch that was really viable. I mean, Anthony Richardson, I'm not hopeful. I don't believe he's going to reach the upside we thought he possibly could have coming out, but still a guy that has a lot of talent that you never know when the light might click on if he's got to come in. And I think from their standpoint, okay, Daniel Jones wins the job, Brendan, Daniel might get hurt for a couple of weeks. We bring in Anthony Richardson. We have him run the RPO option 24/7 for a game, right? We just changed the whole nature of our offense for a couple games, and we're not worried about doing with Anthony for 17 games where he's getting beat up. We're like, who the hell cares? We're getting Daniel back in a couple games anyway. So they had set this up and even got Riley Leonard as a reinforcement there. I think there is something to the fact that right now what we're seeing, I think, is a drawback to the quarterback position, having much more of a requirement from the neck up to be on it. And what that means to me is that the young guys that walk in the league that could run spread concepts and all of that, it's kind of going out the door right now in this day and age. It's more back to, you got to be under center. You got to pre-snap read defenses. You're going to have to turn your back to the defense on play action and have the proper footwork to be able to make that happen. I just don't think that we have as many guys in the league that are as well situated to be able to execute offenses in that manner. That we've just come out of the age of the spread offenses, and conceptually that's made playing the quarterback position easier coming out of college, easier and immediate to get those guys on the field. I think we're moving into a stage now. It may not last for 15 years, Brendan. It may be a 6-7 year process, and then we see the transition go back to spread concepts. But I think for the next 3 to 4 to 5 years, you're going to see now more of going back to the quarterbacks having to play with a little bit more intelligence, not so simplified, not so much of the offensive coordinators doing all of the heavy lifting for you so that you just have to throw little pop passes all day. I think you're going to have to get back to quarterbacks having to truly get back to becoming, almost extensions of coaches back on the field in the way that they're able to execute mentally out there.
Yeah. It makes
at least the good ones.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, the things go into ebbs and flows, right? Nothing stays the same forever. The defense adjusts, the offense adjusts to the defense adjustment, and then the defense, it's got to keep moving.
It does. It's the beautiful part about this sport is it doesn't stay the same at any point in time, and that it's always in a place of, things going from here to there, and this works this year, and now this works this year, and this works now next year after that. It's very randomized in that way. And it's part of the tit for tat where offenses do this, defenses do that, offenses do this. It's that adjustment that goes back and forth. For instance, this year coming into it, we knew 12 personnel was going to be run at an all-time high usage rate. The anticipation and change from defenses this year has been drawing back into more base defense, where that was not as much of an answer in recent years, even when teams wanted to come out with the 12 and the 13 personnel. So this is where tit for tat's always going on, but part of that tit for tat is driven back to the quarterback position, not making it as simplistic and easy to just hit the ground running anymore. And I think the smart team gets out ahead of that. This is why you got to give John Schneider a lot of credit. He's got out ahead of a trend. He got ahead of it with a Geno Smith and a Sam Darnold when everybody was like, you got to go draft guy, got to go draft the guy. That would have been very stupid in retrospect, probably. I mean, maybe you could have moved up for a CJ Stroud. I still don't think that deal was there to be had, but in retrospect, you just picking one of those guys that would have been available to you wouldn't have been smart. You would not have got a team as this good right now where they're at. So John's got a real good read on this, I think, and understanding where the game is at. He's got a good read on quarterbacks, I think, in general, but smart on his process to get ahead of this one.
Mm-hmm. And he may end up getting executive of the year for the first time ever. Like, I don't know who else it would be. Like, I look around the league, who else is in the running for executive of the year? Like, the Rams didn't really do that much. They just kind of built on top of what they've already had. Like, what did the Rams do this offseason? Sign Devontae Adams?
You go sign Devontae Adams, Poona Ford, traded your first round, got a first round pick from the Falcons for a top, what'll be probably 6th, 7th round pick. But to your point, I still think that the Seahawks and what John's done is better because all of those moves were moves that everyone would have lauded when you did them. When the Rams made that move, everybody looked at Atlanta and going, what are you doing, crazy man?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And that move it's not like that's helping the Rams this year anyway, right? That's for next year.
Yeah, it's for next year. And with Schneider, it's trading for a Sam Darnold, adding on Cooper Kupp, DeMarcus Lawrence, the way he handled the draft. I think he's done so much that's been not easy, and not everybody was just going, oh, that's a home run move, no doubt there. It's turned into a home run move. And I think that, you got the DK Metcalf move, the Geno Smith trade, getting something for those guys. I mean, all those moves in retrospect has looked tremendously smart for Johns. I can't think of another general manager that's more deserving.
Getting Ernest Jones at the 17th highest paid linebacker in the league or something, like not even top 15. I can't remember exactly, but it's not top 10. I know that, which is kind of silly now looking at it.
Yeah, you got him on a discounted deal to bring him back into the flow of things here. And it's, it's not no general manager is going to be perfect, but when you get this many moves this right, and especially on the back of it the last couple of years, so many moves right versus not, this is why we're in the position we're in. Is John is stacked up. As I say, great teams are stacked up on small individual decisions that are made right over and over and over and over again. Where, that was a smart move. That was a smart move. That was a smart move. And then the collection of those smart moves becomes an elite team. But it's microscopic at times on this stuff. And John is on a microscopic level, move by move by move by move. You see the intelligence in it. I'd even say down the home stretch and how you have a Riley Mills kind of sitting in the background, a Quandre Diggs back in the background if something happens with the safety position to get some reinforcement there. He's just really on it in the details in this, and he's built a third youngest roster in the NFL right now with 10 wins already in this season so far to kick things off. The future is even brighter, and that's saying something for the type of year we've had.
Yeah, and hopefully they reward it. I actually looked this up recently. For some reason, no idea why, in 2013, which is the year that he logically would have won it or could have won it, they did not give out the award. They skipped that year, and I could not find out why.
Strange. Yeah, he definitely should have won it prior to this. So maybe some of this could also be a little bit of we should have already tipped our cap to you on this one beforehand at some point. But no other GM's done better work in this league, in my opinion, and he deserves it. Maybe even far and away above anybody else.
Yeah, it's like when they gave Scorsese the Oscar for his 6th or 7th best movie. Same idea.
Yeah, exactly. An honorary award at that point.
All right, so I think that wraps it up. Thank you everybody for coming out today and listening to the show. Once again, shout out to the sponsor Sleeper. Give them a shot. Give them a chance. Download the app and use promo code SBN or NEST. Either will give you that 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. And we will be doing this next week early because we play on Thursday next week. So tune in Tuesday at noon, and we will tell you all about whatever happens this Sunday, and we'll tell you all about what we think is going to happen on Thursday. So hope to see you guys there. Brandon, thank you for doing this with me today.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I will be doing a watch-along live stream of the Colts game this weekend, which this will be my final watch-along stream of the season. So check out that if you want to. And guys, all there is to say is, I mean, the team is doing all the hard work for us, right? We as fans, it feels like it's easy right now. It's easy to be a Seahawks fan right now. So don't forget to do the bare minimum. Don't forget to show up when they need you. And don't forget to say, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.